right? You've demonstrated your value. So in the tech world, especially, companies won't look at your qualification, especially if you start early, because you've got only one way to go, which is up. But you must have the desire and the hunger, right, to want to learn and take these courses and all that. But so many of them are free through MDEC also. The government here offers so many free courses. Having said that, now going on to Rash, just what does GoGet do, right? So you can explain to the audience. And then I'm asking him, what is the difference between gig economy and freelance work, which probably, you know, those of the kids over here, probably your parents, your uncles, your grandparents were also doing that before, right? Sometimes we call it, a gig, a hustle, right? Not gig, but you say it's a side hustle or, just part-time job lah. So can you share the difference between the two also?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So, okay, what does GoGet do, right? So GoGet is essentially a platform. I'm sure you guys have heard SaaS, software as a service. We are a PaaS, platform as a service. And you find across the world, developing countries and developed countries, you have many platforms today. And we essentially mediate an interaction between businesses and people who want work. And what kind of work we're talking about here in the gig economy, and there's a wide range of work, right? That's essentially what gig work means, right? Gig is just, it originated from a musical background where a musician used to come and used to do a gig. So today, GoGet specifically, we were formed in 2014, and we've seen a lot of developments in the gig industry, especially being one of the pioneers. And so, yeah, we provide, the fancy term is, we provide a secure digital workforce recruitment solution to businesses, because at the end of the day, businesses want to reduce costs, and we help with that. Should I move on to the gig economy and freelance? Okay, so gig economy and freelance, right? I think maybe just on the differences, before we go to differences, we go about the similarities. So there's a lot of similar things between the gig work and freelance work. Some of them would be, they both have a project or hourly payments. They also are both very flexible, and they both allow you to manage yourself, right? In terms of the differences, gig work usually has a wide range of work, right? You are not restricted to a single type of work, whereas freelance, you're usually offering up a service to people, right? And you would specialize, like I'm a freelance gardener, and I only offer gardening services. And freelance also usually has a set pay range. Like I would give you my pay, and for gig work, you usually take what you get, right? You'd have people offer up jobs, and I mean today in Malaysia we are the gig economy is very nascent. We are developing it as we go along, but you can see proven models of how it works overseas. Overseas, we have very matured industries already, and we sort of like playing catch up in that way.
Just using the mic to ask the question, like I said, for the recording. So, Paji, tell us, what can a senior editor who has always had fixed employment, right, share about the gig economy that will be useful to the audience? And no selling, please. Easy. No selling of subscription.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. First, a quick check. Who are the actual participants here today? You've just finished Form 5. You're doing a Form 5. You are in Form 3. You're in Form 5. Okay, just so that we know. Okay. Oops, sorry. I off one, lean off the other way.
I think Paji is on a part-time platform also. Probably got a job order now. He has to run off now. Anytime it can happen, yeah. Okay, hold on. So just wait for Paji. Okay, all right.
All right. Yep. Have you all ever seen this thing? A newspaper? Have you all ever bought one? Never, right? I doubt. Okay. So that's my presence here is to show you how world has changed. When I started working, this was the thing, a newspaper. I'm a journalist. I started as a reporter. So I come to work, you go there, you write an article, you wait for the whole day, and then in the evening the editors will edit the article. After they edit, then there'll be a whole range of processes where they're doing things called sub-editing, and then page making, and finally guys will be cutting things, putting stuff, and then they print, and then next day comes out a newspaper. Now this era is still there. The newspapers are still there. They're becoming niche, but things have moved on to what we have here today. So my presence is basically just to show how the old thing is going out and the new economy is coming in, and this is where our focus should be as well, where we want to move on. But what we bring as editors, as newspapers, is we bring content. Content is still relevant, content is still king, content dictates a lot of things. Content builds narratives. So that is the area that's the business that I'm in as an editor. Now, on our side, what we do is we do look at the advancement of the gig economy, freelancing, and there are a lot of opportunities out there. What I see is, as an editor, okay, I deal with people who work full-time, who have a day job. They could be a CIO or manager or something, and then they go to office, they come back to office, or they may be working, freelancing, or maybe from home or something. But what we are also seeing is people who have jobs that you can't really define, you can't pinpoint where he is, but some of these jobs are developing and they are better paying. I'm here equally to learn from these guys to see what are those things and how that will define as we move forward. Because after Form 5 or whatever you're doing now, that you want to keep your eyes open. What are the things that are out there? Don't be stuck by if I've done say arts, I only can go this way. If I've done science, I can go this way. Nowadays you also have economics, right? I think you did economics. That this is my path. Your path can be multiple. So let's listen to them, and I think this will dictate how we move forward.
So I've got now. While earlier I was saying that you can do various short courses, right? Or you can even start working after your Form 5 and build a career in the company that you are in, if you like the company or that career. It's also very difficult for you to do, because as a parent, and I'm a tech journalist, I have been telling my two boys for a long time that you do not need to do the traditional route of 3 years or 4 years to go to a university or do a diploma even, right? And I say you don't need to do that, because you've got enough jobs, there are enough companies hungry for talent that you can start already now by doing just short courses. And I've been telling that for years. I'm trying to psycho them, right, as a parent, and it failed to work. My eldest one is in Germany now, and his logic is simple. Papa, Mommy, you all went to university overseas, I also want to go. So that one thing he wants to follow us. Everything else he doesn't listen to us. So you all are very smart. You select and choose. But the point is, it's super difficult to get young kids even to think that way. So even though as a parent I encourage them. So while that is already the reality for some, so hopefully some of you can be courageous enough to say, yeah, I want to do this, right? Because I think there is a viable career path. Because like Jeff said, when you're doing this, you're picking what you want to learn, and you're making yourself relevant. Because the Coursera, the Udemy, even LinkedIn has got free courses. They're not offering courses for the jobs of tomorrow. These platforms are offering you jobs, offering you certs or mini lessons in careers that are in skills that employers need today and tomorrow. So you don't have to worry if you're going to an online platform that you're learning something that's outdated, right? That's amazing. These are all world-class platforms, right? So now I got a question for Rash, which some just came in, but very important question for Rash, which is on, what is tell us the reality of being a gig employee in Malaysia.
Okay, I think first off starting, we're not known as employees. We don't work for anyone. Yeah, we're gig workers, right? We work for ourselves, and that's pretty much what gig work's about. Owning your own schedule, owning your own earning power. You work harder, you get rewarded more. Simple. That
philosophy will never change in the history of the world, right? You work harder, you get more.
Yes. So I think, maybe kind of taking a step back, right? Like we've been here for now about 10 years, GoGet as a company. And just to give a bit of context about GoGet is, we specialize in low to mid-skill labor. And low to mid-skill labor essentially means, think about warehouse, think about maybe not so much coding and not very high skill, where you probably need to go to a university degree to get the job. But you're thinking more like, types of jobs that we have on the platform would be your traditional riders, dispatch services. You have warehouse, people who work in warehouse, helps the managers manage packers, You also have catering, like F&B. You have retail, going to retail staff, working in stores. You also have call centers. And I think one of the best things about being a gig worker, for me at least, because I also have done a lot of gig work, part of the job, right? Like I've got to learn my own product. And I specifically manage the gig worker platform, not because we have a business platform as well where you can post jobs. On the gig worker side, the industry exposure you get, because you can choose any industry you want. So even before deciding on a specific career, you are able to choose a job on an app. I mean, it's simple and easy, right? Look at the jobs, look at the description, choose a job, say, I want to do this job. You go and you just spend 8 hours of the day learning about something completely new you never knew anything about previously. And we have really cool jobs, right? We've got survey job. I'll give you an example. Last week, and this is probably a bit of a far-fetched example, but we had a job where you had to use Grab and Foodpanda, because Foodpanda was doing a competitive survey, so they were trying to see who's faster to reach, right? So, and they just posted up a job, say we need like 500 people to order the same food from Grab and Foodpanda at the same time. Free meal, right? I think most of the internal staff, we all took the jobs as well. We're just like, this is too good to pass up. Some other jobs that we had is customer service, right? We work for a big insurance company, AIA, and they are actually trying to pilot a project where you hire people on demand. So I'm not hiring you on my payroll. I just say, I want you to come in maybe 2-3 times a week. I put up my schedule, you tell me what you want, when you want to work, right? And this is a very forward thinking, and you can understand why most companies in the world today will not be ready for that kind of leap, right? And AIA is a much bigger company. I'm not sure whether I should say AIA, but I've already said it. So SMEs, small and medium enterprises, will make up 99% of the Malaysian economy. They are very agile to technology. They generally want to be exposed to new tech. They want to figure out new ways to reduce costs. And some of the companies that we've been working on since day one would be flower companies like Bloomdis, very big company. La Juiceria, I'm sure you guys know, you've heard Goodness Greens. And these guys were, back in the day, they're always just like, what's the new tech? What's the latest thing we want to try? And a lot of companies today have struggled with kind of adopting new technology. Also because, very archaic ways of thinking. Some of the stats that we have, right, very interestingly enough, when we started in 2014, it was maybe 96-97% males. Today, funnily enough, it's 60-40 females to males. We have more females joining the gig workforce, mainly because trust and credibility, right? Like everyone's a bit like, oh, I don't want to work with a stranger. But when you're working with reputable companies, it becomes a bit safer. And I think female exposure to workforce, you can see, generally in the world, more females are going into the workforce. And the gig economy gives a chance to the homemakers that never had an opportunity. And in terms of jobs, so when we started as well, I think back then, the only gig work, or not really gig work, you could see are Pizza Hut and Pizza Hut riders, right? You'd call Pizza Hut, and you only trust the Pizza Hut driver to deliver your pizza because Pizza Hut's a reputable company, right? Today, sorry, I'm talking too close. Today, most people, most jobs are actually, now we've gone from a 90-10 split of dispatch to what we call helper, which is just all-encompassing, to a 70-30 helper to dispatch. So we have less dispatch jobs now, and actually more helper, which just goes to, it's a kind of a proxy for when you understand the industry is moving towards more on-demand, task-based work. So helper is what we call, because helper generally means kitchen, catering staff, retail. It's just our all-encompassing term for all kinds of job types. That doesn't require you to have a vehicle, right? Because we needed a way to because we don't want to say part-time, because part-time also is, you can have a contracted part-time work, right? You could be contracted to come in a certain amount of times a week. It's not exactly gig. So we've struggled multiple times to try to categorize and educate the public, and we found that after many tests with people, we found that helper seems to be the most general term where we could encompass, which is hourly work. Because we also offer full-time work, right? And I think part of the reality, coming back to the question, part of the reality of being a gig worker is that your full-time jobs are not going to expire. Like you're not going to convert the entire economy into on-demand economy, right? We still have a need for people that work full-time. But the ratio of full-time workers to hourly workers is going to change over the next few decades. And looking at Malaysia, we're a developing country, we're transitioning to a high-income country. We obviously have a lot more changes that are coming in the future.
I think among helpers also is finance, right? So if you've got finance skills, you can also, you're also considered like a gig worker. Because I know Rash Bosch told me they've got people who are in counting, right? Maybe you're doing tax or audit or something, and you do want to have that, 9 to 6:30 lah, 7, not 9 to 5 anymore, right? And you don't want to go through that every day, but you've got enough experience that you can offer yourself in these platforms. And sometimes some companies, especially during end of the year, right, like tax season or whatever, they may need some extra, people to come in and help. This is where then they can get jobs also. So it's it's even if you have like accounting is a knowledge, not ecosystem, it's a knowledge industry, right? A field, not industry. So you can also do that. So it's expanding definitely beyond that. So that's an interesting point. There are more women now, and there are less, delivery services than there are. So that's kind of interesting. The field is expanding and opening up. Very interesting. Okay, now I'm going to ask a question to Jeff, which is I'm trying to get to the heart of the matter, right? So if a family member, right, somebody you love and care for, told you that they wanted to be a gig worker after their studies, whether it's cert or Form 5 or diploma or degree, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah, so I think some of the attendees here, Form 3, Form 5, or in university or college, and just yesterday actually I did a talk with another youth group that was organized by Asia School of Business, and they were building up with different schools. The key message that I have is it doesn't matter actually whether you are looking to, right after SPM, you're looking to go for your, matriculation programs or OSMATs or, O-levels, A-levels or foundation programs, degree, you name it, right? Or you want to go into a gig economy, you want to learn skills online. Your pathway doesn't matter. What matters is, are you building a portfolio to showcase your own skills or not? And what is the pathway that can help you do that even better? So for example, doctors, right? Like you won't trust a doctor who says like, I peer-to-peer learn, I learn everything online, right? You won't trust it because how do you build a portfolio as a doctor? You need to go through that route that has been set. But if you're say you're interested in computer science, now in computer science, like, as the panelists here mentioned before, right, it keeps changing, right? We don't really know what's next in the future. I think a year and a half ago, ChatGPT, like no one knew about ChatGPT. Now everyone's using ChatGPT, right? 10 years ago, like Instagram didn't exist and all, right? Now everyone's on Instagram, or TikTok didn't exist. Now everyone's on TikTok. So the pathway for a computer science or creative background will keep changing. So the current education form will always change. So if you're into computer science, which is the field that I'm in, if you're into computer science, there are multiple ways for you to gain that skills. So you build based on what you are passionate about. That, I think, is going to be the essence. So even, back in the days during newspapers and until now, actually the main skill sets from an employer's perspective doesn't change, right? They still look for people who are hardworking, perseverance, got determination, and will never say no, right? As when you come out of a university, don't expect your university degree be sufficient enough to get a job, because if you're just depending on a university and this is my final year project and I've done 3 years in the university, chances are the employers will ask you is like, what else have you done, right? Because they want to know how much are you pushing yourself to build up your passion. So if you're want to talk to your parents maybe don't understand why you're on the computer so much and stuff like that, instead of trying to show them like what you're doing, show them the portfolio of the things that you've built, things that you've created, things that you are really passionate about. I can give you a very good example in one of the students that I have. So I've got 2 students that I want to share here. One is a student who worked 4 years as an auditor in the big four companies, right? And his process to be in that position was very long, very rigorous, a lot of money spent in conventional education. But throughout this entire time, he's been learning computer science or coding or programming online with some friends, go out, network here and there. And he used to do it in high school time or in college time. He used to do it on his own without the parents knowing, because the parents will make noise. But he's always been building up that passion. After 4 years of working in the industry as an auditor, he gave up. He decided, now I have enough skills, I'm going to make that transition. But it was difficult because he had nothing to show. Came into our program, 6 months later, transitioned into a full stack engineer, right? And now he's building up his passion. He's actually having, you know, a much better like work-life balance. His happiness is like, you know, insanely high. The other student that I had is when this individual was in standard 3, had to drop out of high school because the parents couldn't afford, and the parents run this kedai runcit somewhere in Klang. And during that time, this boy was actually learning about, you know, how to make websites and stuff on the computer when it's also the cashier's computer, right? So it's trying to learn a few things while, you know, you've got customers to attend. When he was 17, came into my school, and then we enhanced his learning, built him projects, gave him projects, built a portfolio for him. A year later, he's now a software engineer in Finexus Group, which is a fintech company. He's only 19, right? And he doesn't have any SPM as well, right? So you can actually get a job, even if you don't have a degree, you don't have the money to go for a degree. Mind you, I'm in a very lucky position. I can say, oh, you know, I'm a C-suite and stuff, right? I myself never stepped foot in a university. I don't have a degree, right? It's just all portfolios. It's just all projects. So my challenge to all the youths here, or even those who are in your mid-career, is, do you have a portfolio that you can show, this is what I've done to build my passion? That is for me the key, and why I think more and more individuals these days, when they go out and they say can't get a job and all, is because they can't first identify what is their passion. They don't know how to build on their passion, and that is a struggle. It's no longer the world of generalization, it's the world of personalization. So even in talent as well, each talent is unique. You need to show your uniqueness. So how you're doing that is something that maybe you go home, you think about it, and then you do a study of your own self and build on that.
Very good, thanks. So, how many of you have used Blender before? It's like a 3D modeling platform out there. Anyone? No, okay. But again, it's free software. And I know one young kid who was just playing around with it, right? Spent hours and hours on just doing that. And you can actually get freelance jobs ready, you know, the jobs will come from all around the world. Blender, B-L-E-N-D-E-R, yeah, so interesting. But having said that, I know 2 young men who graduated from MMU. They're 3D modelers, which is a very niche, you know, and upcoming industry, and they are back in Ipoh now, and they both decided they didn't want to do full-time employment, so they started doing, you know, getting various jobs. So they are like knowledge gig workers. But because you're obviously in our culture, you're still living at home with your parents, and although they had regular job, but the parents after 2 years have managed to convince them that, hey, you know, can you please get a proper job? So for those of you here, you'll still probably have to struggle with that dynamic, and it's not going to be easy, but if you believe in yourself and you think there are enough examples of people doing it, right, you can have to convince them, and get a family member on your side, right, to help you your cause also, because that'll be your hardest challenge. If you're already here sitting, that means you're already kind of open to want to explore this, and power to you. And of course, because all these young kids by now, for all of us, we grew up in a different world than them. They've probably by now, all these young kids have read at least 1,000 articles or seen videos, right, on TikTok or Instagram, talking about their peers saying, hey, you don't want to be a slave to the rat race, right? You don't want to be working and tied to one company, and then the company shows you no loyalty, they'll just sack you. So their mindset is tuned, wired differently at this, so we've got to accept that. So that's why this panel is actually kind of interesting to open up your minds. Now, I've got a question. So that was a question. So for Rash, right, the same question for you, because you're up to your eyebrows, right, in the gig economy. If a family member told you they wanted to be a gig worker after their studies, or they're in their 20s or 30s already in the workforce and said they want to, you know, quit their full-time job, what would your advice be to them?
I think echoing what Jeff said, definitely agree with the creating a digital presence, building a portfolio, making sure you stand out, right, in a sea of people that are trying to gain opportunity. But if you were to want to kind of venture into the gig economy, I think there are 3 things. For one, you should be on multiple platforms. Never tie yourself down to one platform, right? There's and tons of different platforms out there, and not even in, because with today we're not limited to physical. We don't need to be around each other, right? You could get work from India, you could get work from America. Like, go and see what's out there, figure out what's the demand like, and then work backwards, right? Don't kind of like say I want to do this. You can, it'll be a bit more of a struggle. The second one is try different jobs. If you want, because the whole point of gig is to be able to kind of like dabble in a little bit of everything. Kind of get your hands dirty, because gig also like they were saying, goes from, high skill gig, which is programming and graphic design and video editing, right down to just going and working as a retailer. And I wouldn't discount any of these jobs, because I've worked a ton of retail jobs, I worked a ton of sales jobs. Many as well. I mean, my dad used to just tell me, just go and get your hands dirty, right? For me, I hated it. But what I think I'd gained was the ability to put myself in different situations and talk. Right? At the end of the day, if you can't talk and sell yourself, you fall short. Right? So you've got to be able to put yourself in different situations and just kind of like figure it out, work it out. The third would be, once you've kind of gotten your hands dirty and you've dabbled a little bit of everywhere, prioritize an industry that you want to focus in. The roles don't matter. Industry does. Domain knowledge, right? So understanding how an industry works, you'd be able to kind of move across different roles in that industry. Of course, this is not no doctor, engineer included, right? Like, because this requires specialized skill sets. But for everything else, even for my own role, I'm a product manager. Most people don't know how to define my role. I struggle sometimes as well. And I came from actually something sort of Jeff's course. I did a full stack web development certification for 3 months. And then I was certified a developer, but I didn't like it. But I moved within the industry. Now I work as a product manager, something of an intersection between human-centered design, business demand, and as well technology. Right? And that falls within my passion. And I only found that out through going through hours and hours on screens, looking at different jobs, understanding different scopes, and talking to a ton of people. I've been for a lot of interviews in my life. True story. I think that's pretty much it. That's what my advice would be.
If a family member is like already in the workforce, right, full time, and they want to decide to go out and have more balance in their life and join the gig economy, what would your advice be to them? Would you say, yeah, go ahead and do it, or because by then, when you're 20s or 30s, you're already in one industry, in one skill set, right?
I think so. It depends on the goal of the person. I would definitely want to understand your motivations for joining the gig industry. I mean, for one, yes, earning extra money is great. Two, what I really like, or what most of the gig workers that I speak to really enjoy as well, is the opportunity to gain experience talking with different people. I've met this one very, very young woman, and she was, I think, like 18. And she had told me that she has a full-time job, but on the weekends, she said that she just wanted to go out and work with like loads of different people, and she just loved talking to people. And I was like, if your goal here is to kind of go out there, speak to people, interact, right, we're all social beings, I'm like, for sure, you should go for it. I don't discount anyone from going and trying new things. I think until you try, you don't know. And so definitely try gig industry.
Maybe then this last question to Paji, then want to open up for questions for you all, right? Although there was one more set of questions for them, but we want to hear from you, which is, Paji, if your own 2 kids, right, because you got 2 kids in university now, told you they wanted to try the gig economy after graduating, what would you do? And please don't say you're going to bring out the grandfather's danda, okay? He still has.
When most of us were growing up, we didn't have a safety net. Okay, when I was growing up, I couldn't say on that day that, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try something. If I fail, I can look back something. We didn't have that. We didn't have like, your dad had given you a home, your dad had put food on the table, he has given you enough money maybe to do education, but that's about it generally for most of us. Now what we are having is, we have parents who have built something in life, they have put the foundation for the children, and then now they have a pool that they have as well, where the children know now that they can try. They can go out there and test the waters. If I fail, that's mum and pop. Okay, if you are in that sweet spot, go ahead and try. Try things. Go and try something, because you know, if you fail, and failure is part of life, we learn best from our failures. If you go out there, you fail, you know you have a safety net. If you have that. If you don't have a safety net, you want to think deeper. What do I do? How do I go about this? But the general thing is to not stop learning. I think the key things that I would pick up from these two gentlemen here is how important building up our own portfolio is, whether it's digital and in all-rounder. And that comes, I would like to make the next point is about learning. In today's world, where you are sitting at home and everywhere, you actually have all the tools to learn. The question is, do I want to learn or not? Now, as an editor, I have writers, we have a pool of writers, and then we have people working with us. What I notice is, even those guys who are with me maybe for a year or beyond, the difference in people is how well they accomplish tasks depends on how much they are driven and how much they're willing to learn on the job. Because we are learning every day. Even today, after umpteen years in the industry, I'm still learning. There's always new thing. I just found out something, Blender. It's not the... When he said Blender, the first thing that I thought about was last night when I was in the house, my son was playing the Blender. And I just realized, oh hell man, this Blender is not that Blender. This Blender is something else. It's a blender.org 4.1. This is learning. I'm learning something. So if you have that with you, that desire to want to learn, and if you can do what we have just learned here about building that portfolio, you will survive. You will survive. And I like what Jeff mentioned here about going into the industry. Pick your industry. I think that's a very good advice. If I go out there, I want to do something, it's not about the role, as he has mentioned. It's about that area of expertise. I'll give you an example. When I was a rookie reporter in one of my previous newspapers, we have in journalism something called beat. The beat is something that when you do something, you specialize in a particular area. Let's say his beat is tech. That's, if you want to know anything about tech, you go to Karam. You want to know anything about venture cap, you go to him. At one time, my beat once upon a time was on insurance, the insurance industry. So in my newspaper, if there was anything about insurance, I was the guy who would know, because I made it my business to know. But after a while, what started happening is, as I'm writing about insurance, now the insurance industry people got to know me. So what is happening now is, because of my interest in that particular area, now the universe is conspiring. That's how the universe works. Now that people in that space are now coming to me, because they know, hey, this is the guy you go to if you want to talk about this thing. So the same way, building your portfolio according to what you are passionate about works. If you have the safety net, go in, try. No harm done. But do not stop learning. That's where that comes in. You need to continuously do that and enhance yourself. That answers the question?
No, let the record show Paji did not answer the question, right? So probably means that the answer was, I'll take out the grandfather's danda. Okay, but that aside, can any of you young kids, if you want to ask any questions, please go ahead and ask us. And bearing in mind that almost every conversation, the word AI comes up, right? I just saw a headline yesterday, the AIification of work. So AI is becoming something that is in our life already. Yeah? Interesting. So you have to embrace it for sure. But any of you young kids have a question? There's no silly question. By the way, Paji didn't have a university degree. He started in journalism career, and he was already successful. But he had that fire in him to say that, Karam, I think something is missing. I want to go and get my... Then he ended up doing a master's because he's like a decade or more of journalism experience. He found a university on his own that said, hey, you are already, to our minds, a degree holder, right? So they let him do a master's, which he had to pay for. He quit his job. The boss didn't say that your job is waiting for you when you come back. quit, went there. Oh yes, you had, they gave you a sabbatical, lucky that he's so good that the boss wanted him, but he went and studied on his own, paid on his own and came back. So again, that fire has to be new, because your parents can try to instill it, but somehow it also comes from you. So any question from any of you who you want to ask anything? There's no silly question, right? Because this is still, like Raj was saying, the gig economy is still very new in this country, right? But it's a major part of the economy. For those of you who didn't come in early, the EPF, and even there's an article in December to say that they think 40% of the workforce in Malaysia is already people working in the gig economy. So it's the reality right now outside there. Very interesting. But do you want to be one of those who's in the upper income categories of the gig economy, or in the middle or lower income? That's fire has to come from you, man. Any questions from any of you? Supposed to end because we started 10 minutes late, so supposed to start at 9:10, so 9:50 lah. Oh, we are 5 minutes past. Yeah. Okay. The actual participants lah. Okay. The young, for you all, just come in, and Paji is now taking over from me. Friends already who are working now, gig jobs? Some of you with their friends? Not yet, you don't know anyone also exploring it. So this is like virgin territory for you all.
How many is in school? Like going to finish school already, like 1, 2, and you are at form 3. And the rest are university, college.
She's waiting for exams. SPM waiting for exams. Anyone else? College?
College.
College. We have to go waiting for exams.
Those waiting already know your pathway, like you know what you are going to pursue?
Financial economics.
Okay, financial economics.
Broadcast engineering.
Broadcast engineering.
Where you going to?
I'm just doing on the side and all that. Like now the
Okay, so
yeah,
you're
to be in church.
yeah.
Somewhat your passion.
Yeah.
Right? Good. That's good.
What can we immediately do, like in your place? Is there something that we can do today when we walk back home and start doing something, signing up something, anything like that?
I think one good example is, if you pursue broadcast engineering, right now on the side is, here helping out, building out this, right? One key factor is that how do you sort of like minute this down or put it into some sort of like, piece of paper that you can show it to someone else, right? So it's always important to also capture whatever you do, whatever moments you have, whether it's a photo or whether it's, if there's a technical issue, how do you then sort of like explain it? It goes down to, I think, rapidly we explained it just now, right? It's like communication is key, right? So, it's like if let's say, for example, there's a technical issue that happened, right? Like, and then you were the one who fixed it. You can't just go up and sort of like say, there was a technical error, live stream video, and I fixed it, right? That doesn't make sense, right? But if you can define it properly in a way that, shows how you handle that situation and you took care of it, and then you managed to create that solution, that is where it's important. I think most of you, all of you, right, whether even yourself in Form 3, right, at this point of time, I'm sure that you're learning, whether it's on your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram and stuff. Some of you may even find like, I don't know what's my passion. It's normal to feel this way, even myself, and it's fine. It's fine, right? I just had a conversation with my friend who is very high level position in the organization, worked maybe 15 years, came up to me asking for help and like, hey, bro, I need help in my CV. So I don't know how to define myself. Like the about me part, I'm struggling. And I was like, 15 years of working and they still have this problem. Like, everyone will go through this phase. What I would really suggest is if you do struggle, how do you sort of come out of that struggle when you do have like, one day you decide, I'm going to try and do something.
do their work and those kind of things. Those may be a trigger point in you understanding maybe my interest is really in data analysis or in that journalism area, right? I see how they talk to some of the reporters or the crime reporters. Those kind of things could be a trigger point, right? So make a self-analysis of your own day-to-day behavior. That's the easiest way for you to identify your passion. For me, that is the first step. The second step is then how do you define that into like a piece of paper, right? So write it down. If it's possible, nowadays there are a lot of tools. I feel Canva is like a great tool for you to start off with, right? How do you sort of put it into a bit more of a friendly to the user, friendly to another reader, right? So go up, create an account on Canva, and then just type in portfolio resume builder or something, right? And you'll have tons of examples, and you start feeding it info. Use ChatGPT if you struggle to define it. Use ChatGPT, ask it to reword it for you, and build that part up. Now you're not building up a resume or a portfolio to submit to a company. No, you're building up a portfolio resume so that you read it on your own and see is this person exciting or not. Like when I read the CVs, I met like this person is a really exciting individual. If it's not, then you know where you need to go. That is the best way. It's self-analysis. Once you do that self-analysis, if your CV excites you, I'm sure it will excite other people. So do that process, do that small little exercise. It doesn't take long. It's a Saturday, Sunday weekend, right? So Saturday, do the self-analysis of yourself. Sunday, go on to Canva, come up with your CV, and then at the end of it, read your CV. The best part is, all of you all have parents. You then send your CV to your parents. Ask your parents, like, I did something just for fun. I'm doing a self-analysis of myself. Here's my CV. Would this person be somewhat of an interesting figure? It's a simple exercise, but helps you learn about your own self.
Brilliant. Anyone use ChatGPT?
Yes.
You guys have used Canva? All use.
So just merge those two things and exercise that you can take from me.
I think how I would go, I completely agree with self-audit. So for how I'm going to do this with you guys, I'm going to think about what I would have wanted to know at this point of your career in your life. And I'm going to go backwards. What I think the first thing is more of a mindset level. Start thinking more outcome-based rather than task-based. Right? Completing a degree is a task, not an outcome. An outcome of completing a degree is I now understand so and so and so. Right? That is an outcome of what you're looking for rather than task. And this is applicable to all parts of your life. Never be like in your resume, don't say I did 50 reports. Right? Say I saved the company X amount. Right? Example. So outcome-based rather than task-based. And this applies in everything you do. The second thing, does anyone have any questions about outcome and task? I know for me also, you've got to be easy when I was trying to understand it at first. You guys have any, you understand what I mean by task and outcome? Second thing is proactive, right? What I mean by proactivity, right, is you have today MOOCs, massive open online courses, Coursera, Udemy, all these things, right? And a lot of courses are free, so you really don't have I don't have money for this and only my parents will give me. A lot of these are free, and a lot of them give you in-depth. So, put knowledge aside, you learn something from the course. But what you really gain from that is a perception of initiative. When people see your resume and they see that you've done 5 courses, they will say, wow, this guy actually spent the time doing that. That's what the person has, the outcome that he has derived out of you just doing. You may not have learned much. Like God knows, like I've done a lot of courses that I didn't learn enough, right? But what people saw was initiative. And that is very powerful because employers want people who are willing to put themselves out there, put in the hours that was not required of you by law. Right? Proactive. The third is AI. Right? I don't pass with everyone talks about AI. What I mean by AI is you start integrating AI in every part of your life that you can. And why? Not to say you want to go into a whole different lifestyle, but you want to start leveraging AI in a way that most people cannot understand yet. Right? So you need to start now. So the moment AI comes, we are all techniques. Right? My department, we're all technical. Right? The moment AI came, we've implemented AI across the board of our organization. Right? And year has hit, there is no excuse saying, oh, my industry has no AI. Impossible. AI will revolutionize every way you go. And the best time to have started it is yesterday. Right? Like, because we have checked the word ChatGPT came out, there are multiple engines now, like what they call, they don't call search engines, they call it answer engines. Right? And an answer engine is only best utilized as a company, somebody in the background thinking strategically. So take yourself out of the task and figure out the outcome and then use AI as a strategy of achieving that. Right? Work faster, work smarter. Right? Don't waste time. I think for me that was definitely a few things I would have wished someone to. And don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you want to do. Yeah. Just think about anything you do, achievement, and little milestones you do. Right? Like I've done many industries in my past. I found this role found me in a way, right? Because I've done a lot of job applications, and I found that. So a lot of times actually I kind of work backwards. With the way I got my job is I actually faked a lot of my courses as well because I didn't have enough time and I wanted to get a job faster. So I did a few courses and then I just put a few more there because I knew I already had some knowledge on it. But the goal here is that I'm seeking an outcome. I'm not saying you should do that. Like, you see, you have time. You guys are young. Yeah, you guys are young. But in the reality of like, sometimes you're much older, you're just like, you need to figure out how to get things done.
Folks, who
have any more questions?
can go down.
We'll talk this later on after the whole program.
If you just want to take a picture, all their mobile numbers are here, so you don't have to ask them for it. Just take a picture of those if you want. Hey, we'll share with them. Oh, okay, good. Yeah. You can get any of the numbers are here, we just have to take a picture.
Right.
And you can call us anytime. Anyone of them.
Data privacy issues.
You can connect on LinkedIn.
Such a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All the money friends that walk.
This one, I'll be surprised if no one
Actually, yeah.
Opportunity, myself and my nephew actually, Elvin Dev Singh, to speak about this profession, the law profession. So let me introduce myself first. I'm also the moderator speaker, so let me introduce myself. I'm Har Mahinda. I am currently serving as the head of the law school in the School of Law and Governance in Taylor's University. So I've chosen law as my field, my profession, and teaching as my sub-profession, if you like, right? So I completed my law degree externally with the University of London. I'll talk about that. Shortly after that, I went into a career in consulting, didn't like it, and then I pursued my master's in law, and I went into teaching because for teaching, master's is a prerequisite. It was a prerequisite many years ago. Then I went into teaching, liked it very much, took on leadership positions, enjoyed it very much, and some years ago I completed my PhD in law, and therefore able to take on positions like this. So that's just a little bit of introduction. What I'll do is I will talk about the academic pathways. So we just heard from our Virjis on gig economy. That is a very, something very out there. Whereas this is going to be something very traditional. The legal profession is very traditional. I'll tell you why it's very important to have a qualifying law degree if you're going to go into this profession. And the pathways, the fees, the details about the education portion, the degree portion. And then my co-speaker Alvin Dave will speak about the profession itself. So let me just get Alvin to introduce himself just for a few minutes.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for taking your Sunday mornings to come here and hear some of us speak. I think what's important is I've been practicing law for about 5 years now. I spent about 2 years in degree here and then 2 years abroad. So final year and then my bar. Perhaps you will understand this a bit more after Vijay speaks about it. And then perhaps when I take the mic later, and then I'll speak to you all about exactly what I do and my experiences that I can share with you all. Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with the specific pathways to legal practice. Now, you may have a lot of questions regarding law degrees, the type of law degree that you should do, why you should choose a particular type of a degree, what are the pros and cons, which university to go to, and so on. So this slide is just a diagrammatic flow form of the different options that we have. There are more than this, obviously. I've just sort of brought it down to 5 options, which are the most common options, right, that students usually go out for in our country, particularly in the Klang Valley area, okay? So firstly, of course, if you are, if you are currently pursuing your STPM qualification, STPM is a government year 12 qualification, so you may qualify to get into a public university. So one of the pathways is through the public university pathway, right? So the public universities that offer law, currently we have top of the rank is University Malaya, okay? Then you have IIUM, University Islam Antarabangsa. You have your University Kebangsaan Malaysia. You have UUM, which is right in the north of our country in Sintok. And I heard that the nearest cinema is actually in Thailand, not even in Malaysia, to Sintok. And MMU, which is a private university. I put it here because MMU is one of the only private universities in our country at the moment which has a 4-year law degree. Now just quickly, what is the difference between 4 years and 3 years type law degrees? Do you know the difference? Okay. So generally law degrees are academically, you learn the academic content for 3 years. So every law degree will teach you the academic content where you will do all the law subjects. You will start from contract law, criminal law, tort law, constitutional law. You will learn all the basic foundation of legal knowledge subjects, the academic content in 3 years, the first 3 years. So every law degree in this screen, you will have that 3-year content that you will learn. Now this 3-year content is prescribed by the Legal Profession Qualifying Board. So the universities cannot simply change which subjects they want to teach. In terms of their foundation subjects, we are bound to teach a certain number of foundation subjects, and of course we can add on the elective. So in the first 3 years, you will learn the academic content. Now the 4th year is usually the professional content, where you learn procedure, you learn about professional practice to prepare you for the legal profession. Now the 4th year in the public universities means that once you finish the 3 years, you will immediately go into the 4th year, and after the 4 years, you don't have to do your CLP. That's what it means, because the 4th year in the public university is actually equivalent to the CLP course, where we all learn about the professional practice and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so as you can see here, if you go and do a 4-year degree public or private university in MMU only, you will immediately go into your chambering. Now chambering is actually where you work with a lawyer, your pupil master. You learn the ropes, right? You are working in chambers as such. You learn the ropes, you go to court, you do court work and so on and so forth in your later months of your chambering. After which, once you are finished with your chambering, it's like the housemanship for lawyers, if you like. Then you will be called as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya. Now don't just forget about the term, you're basically a lawyer, right? And this is where you go into legal practice. Legal practice means you go to court. You want to go to court, you want to fight cases, you want to solve people's problem in court. So you need to go through this pathway. Now if you choose that you don't want to go to court, like me, right? you can take a different pathway. You don't even actually have to do your 4th year or your CLP years. Now the 4th year is of course in public university compulsory, right? Because it's part of the course. But if you feel that you are not the kind who wants to go into practice, you don't really have to do the 4-year program. You just do the 3-year program and opt out of CLP, right? You can do that as well. Now let me complete this. When I get the mic, I start talking and I'm all over the place. So then you have the private universities. Okay, private universities currently in our country, there are only 2 private universities which offer recognized law degrees. One of it is Taylor's University and the other one is Help University. Okay. Now theirs is 3 years, so you must, after the 3 years, do the 4th year, which is the CLP, and then you go to the next level. Now then you also have universities or colleges which actually offer part of their degree here and part of their degree in the UK. Now there are 2 terminologies for this, 3 terminologies for this. One is, it's called a degree transfer program. The other one is called articulation arrangement. And the third one is twinning arrangements. We don't have twinning arrangements in our country anymore. Let me explain the 3 differences, okay? So degree transfer means you are doing, the program that you will be enrolled on will only have 1 year or 2 year pathways. You don't have a 3rd year to fall back on. Why? Because those licenses are only to run a degree transfer program where you must go abroad to the UK, okay? Now, articulation arrangements, which is what they have in Taylor's. Taylor's is actually a 3-year program. You can opt to go to the UK if you want to. If you don't want to, you can finish all 3 years in Taylor's University. Okay, so there's like a fallback. And this was very important during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, people couldn't go abroad. And there was a lot of students who wrote to write and ask whether, we could take them on. And I'm from Taylor, so I can share this with you. So it's very important to have like a safety net. Your path must be a clear path, particularly if you want to. I'm not promoting Taylor, so in case you think I am, I'm not. I'm not here to do that, and I don't intend to do it, okay? So then you have other universities as well, which offer degree transfers like ATC, BAC, and HELP. Those are degree transfers, which means when you enroll onto their program will only have 2 years, and you must go abroad for the final year. Now, HELP also has the 3-year program, but their 3-year program and the degree transfer program are 2 different programs, whereas Taylor's University is only 1 program. So that's the distinction, okay, slight distinction only. You also have the opportunity, if you have the means, to go all 3 years abroad. You want to study in UK, Australia, New Zealand. There are options for you to do that. And once you come back through this foreign university degree pathway, you still either have to do the bar or the CLP. Okay, and then your University of London external, which is basically a 3-year degree which you can complete all 3 years here, but it is a University of London degree, content-wise, regulatory-wise, everything University of London, right? Okay. Now, so you have BAC and ATC, which offer the degree transfers. You also have BAC, ATC, and UOW, which is your KDU University, offering the University of London. We also have another newcomer, which is actually a branch campus down south in Iskandar, University of Reading, Malaysia. They also offer a complete 3-year degree here, University of Reading degree, where you can do either the bar or CLP. Now the bar, I didn't speak about it earlier. This is the UK equivalent of our CLP. And our country, the Legal Profession Qualifying Board, currently accepts the bar as equivalent to the CLP. So you don't have to come back and do the CLP if you have already stayed on to do the 4th year, which is the bar in the UK. Okay, so those are the pathways. Now I would invite you to go to the website of the Legal Profession Qualifying Board, LPQB, and look at the list of universities that are recognized. So people do all sorts of degrees, right? So you go online, you pick a university law degree, you can do it entirely online, you do the degree, you graduate, and then you realize, oh dear, the legal profession doesn't recognize this degree. So it's very important for you to know which are the universities. So in the UK, there's only about 32 universities that the Legal Profession Qualifying Board recognizes. Australia, there are about 14 universities, 14, and New Zealand only 5. So if you choose the right universities, your pathway is seamless, it's clear, otherwise you might be stuck, okay? Now let me just quickly move on. Now, so here is a little bit of a table format of their different qualifications, the duration, and the fees. Okay, I'm just going to put this here for a while. Now, the different color coding is to show you that the black color coding is where you finish all 4 years in that university. So you have UM, UKM, IIUM, UUM, Multimedia University. Taylor's University has got 3 years all completed to be completed in the university, or you can go abroad. Then you have HELP, the same, you can complete all 3 years there, or you can go abroad. And UORM, where you can complete all 3 years there. Okay, and that's their fees. So it very much depends on your affordability, your financial means, and so on and so forth. And I always tell my students that, for this type of fees, I shouldn't be saying anything bad about Taylor's now, I'm going to do it. It's probably the most expensive. You can educate 3 lawyers for the cost of 1. And why would you want to do that, right? Anyway. And then if you're going to go to the UK, you also have our current exchange rate at 5.9 with pound sterling, which is very, very costly. So your cost of living, and our brother can speak about that. He went to the UK for a year in Cardiff. In fact, 2 years, right? You even did your bar, right? So he will be able to speak about that. And these are the other universities, other colleges. These are not universities, but colleges. So you have Brickfields, Kemayan, and UOW, which are university colleges or colleges. They are not universities. The earlier list was full-blown universities. Okay? Now, just to share with you some overview of the regulatory requirements. Okay? I spoke a little bit about the CLP requirements earlier, but let me just tell you the public university requirements. Some students will ask, what are the subjects that we need to do, before we go into the degree? Are there any particular compulsory subjects that I must finish? Must I be good in history? Must I be good in this? Must I be good in that? Right? These are the kind of questions that we always get. Now, for the study of law, generally, there is no prerequisite. The only prerequisite is for regulatory requirements for CLP, which is English and Bahasa. That's the only regulatory requirements. There's no other specific subjects that any university would usually impose. I know public universities have a requirement for STPM, general paper or general studies, where you have to have, I think, at least A- or something like that, right? You can check. Each university has a different entry requirement. So for you to know exactly what are the entry requirements for each university, go to their respective website. This is public knowledge. You can go and find this information there. Okay. Now, but generally, you will have to have your SPM equivalent qualification, right? You will need to have an STPM equivalent qualification as well. And STPM for public universities, or your matriculation, your government diplomas and all that, average CGPA requirement for public universities is about CGPA 3.0, right? That's your usual average requirement. You will complete all 4 years there, no need to do your CLP. Now, places in public universities, as you know, are very competitive, right? And their fees tend to be lower, not entirely low, but lower, right? And the medium of comm, they teach you either in English or in Bahasa. UM has both options, where some modules are done in Bahasa, some tutorials are done in Bahasa. So your Bahasa, you must be good at Bahasa, otherwise you're going to be stuck. UKM entirely in Bahasa, right? So you learn everything, your lectures, your tutorials, everything is in Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Malaysia, right? Okay. Private universities, entry requirements slightly lower, right? So usually for private universities, you have an average CGPA of 2.5 to 2.7 average type of CGPA for STPM level. For the college, it's even lower. For the colleges, it's even lower. It's the bare minimum standards, which is your CGPA 2, STPM equivalent of 2 E's or 2 D's, depending on the college that you actually go to. University of London follows the college entry requirement, right? It's lower entry requirement. So here you have 3 years, you must complete your CLP. Fees are usually higher in a private university or a college, and medium of communication is entirely English. Okay. Now for CLP, you must show SPM or equivalent 5 credits, including Bahasa. So for those of us who have not done our SPM, you did your IGCSE and all that, equivalent is accepted. Do check with the Legal Profession Qualifying Board for the different type of IGCSE that you are currently pursuing, right? And all of it is obviously accepted. All this is listed on their website. You can check. So you have the different variations of IGCSE, okay? And then you also have your STPM equivalent qualifications that are accepted. So your foundations, your A levels, your Australian matriculations, New Zealand matriculations, all are accepted, right? In terms of the qualification. And then obviously your degree itself that you pursue. Now this is a very important thing. The degree itself that you pursue must have at least 12 law subjects. So you have this, this variation of law and commerce, variation of law and business. Now those type of degrees are dangerous if you want to practice law, because the Legal Profession Qualifying Board may not recognize it because of the number of subjects that are there, right? So you must have at least 12 law subjects, and the 6 prescribed core subjects must be within the degree. So they will check the total number of subjects, that's 1. They will check if the subject is taught over an entire year, that's number 2. So the core subjects must be taught over an entire academic year. It cannot be just 1 semester or 2 semesters. It has to be 2.5 semesters. It also has to be equivalent in terms of the credits, in terms of the hours, and so on and so forth. So all those requirements are very important for CLP. Okay. Now my last slide is then just to summarize everything on how to select the institution. Now this is very personal, I think, right? So first and foremost, you must make sure it's a qualifying law degree recognized for practice in our country. And how do you check that? Legal Profession Qualifying Board website, it's listed there. Which are the universities, so on and so forth. Check, right? Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. There's a lot of options out there now. In fact, I was just looking at the data that was given to me yesterday. There are about 32 institutions in our country offering law degrees of different types and variations. So if the student is not aware and you are not well informed, you may end up making a wrong decision for your law degree, then realizing that the law degree that you have pursued is not recognized, right? And these institutions may not tell you because they are small colleges all over the countries, okay? So make sure it's a qualifying law degree, it's a QLD, okay? Next one is you can check if you want to check, this is not so important, but sometimes it matters, the ranking of the university. Now the ranking of the university is something that employers will look at. Whether you did your degree in a university that is ranked internationally, or whether it's a university that is not so well ranked. So employers might want to look at this, but I suppose they don't really bother. If you are a good candidate, they will take you on anyway. Entry requirements. Now sometimes entry requirements are important because the higher the entry requirements means the people that you are studying with are all of that quality, right? If you go for the universities with the low entry requirements, you will actually have a struggle because everybody is going to be at the low rung. And I'm not saying this with prejudice to anyone, I'm just saying this because you want to have a good environment to study in. You want to be in an environment where your company, helps you develop your skills rather than to pull you down. The fourth thing is to check what are the experience and support services that the university provides for you. So student support, database support, because now all the law reports are on a database, right? You don't have them as hard copies anymore in the library. So whether these are very expensive, so does the institution provide for you. Now all the universities and colleges that I've listed there, the reason I've listed them there for you is because I feel that they have these qualities. They have all these 4 qualities. I didn't list everyone there, all the 32, right? There's a reason for that. So I've looked at it, I've sort of gone to the website. Yesterday I went and checked one by one, and I think, you should just focus on the 14 that I've spoken about, right? The public universities, private universities, and some of the colleges and branch campus. Now on this side of the screen you have now these are the kind of things that you probably don't have control over. So this is what the university will offer, correct? Or the Legal Profession Qualifying Board prescribes. Whereas on this side, this is some things that you have control over, right? You can go and look out for scholarships if you have an issue with the means to study law, right? It may also be of personal preference, very much like what Uncle Ji said earlier, whether you want to go abroad and study because your parents went abroad to study, therefore I also must go abroad and study, and so on and so forth. And you must go and visit the university and see the space, right? See the space, see the people that are studying there, talk to the people there, and so on and so forth, right? So this is basically some information which I've shared with you about the courses, the 4-year, 3-year program, CLP. What is it about? CLP is it's called Certificate of Legal Practice, and it's not an easy exam. It's a difficult exam. People say that there's a quota. I don't think there is, but only 20% of students usually will pass this exam. I did it twice. Why? Because the first time I played the fool, right? Shouldn't play the fool. That's the lesson that I learned, right? But we all go through that. We all go through and learn from our failures. So I was one of them. In terms of but it's not impossible. It's a course that is needed the way it is. It's difficult because it's an important course for you to be prepared for the legal profession. Okay, so I'll be available later on again for questions, but now I'll pass the floor to Alvin to talk about practice, to talk about the profession itself.
Before I go there, I'd just like to touch and just apply what VG has shared earlier. So just to expand my introduction, just to give some context. So I did option 3, 2 plus 1. I went to BAC. I did 2 years in BAC in PJ, and then I spent some time in Cardiff for 1 year. And then I stayed on and did the BPTC, which is the equivalent of CLP. I think costing-wise, Vijay has covered it. I won't touch so much, but I just like to go back to, this slide. These two, okay. In terms of personal preference, one aspect that was important to me, personally of course, it was that finding a sense of belonging and some Sikh Sangat in the space that I was going to. That was important for me because I know that being away from home was going to be a challenge, and being the only child and all of that. So just to give some comfort, not just to my family and parents, but also to myself, is to find a sense of belonging. So that was something that was quite important, not just the 4 on the left, but for me, finding Sikh Sangat was very important. In terms of visiting the institution, now if the institution is in Malaysia, fantastic, but now if you're going abroad, then what do you do then? Google Street View does a good job with assessing the whole surrounding and condition, so it's perfectly fine. And then you can come to me later and talk about more specific stuff like, oh, should I go to an on-campus university, or do I go to a city campus university? These things are some things you worry about later on, but it's something to think about as you progress through your thought process. Anyway, I learned quite a bit from Vijay. I didn't know there were so many universities who were listed to give a law degree here. Anyway, so I think Vijay has done a seriously good job with the academic pathway, and perhaps now it's time to be real about what that leads to. Before I talk about specific experiences, I think something that is missed in law schools would be that nobody tells you what skills and virtues you need to develop before you eventually get into practice. So I found 4 things that were very important to me. I tried to create an acronym just to help people with the situation, but I hope it sticks. So the acronym is SEEK. The first one is S, solution driven. It sounds very cliche, but I think being solution driven is an important aspect for any industry, especially for ours, because you don't get paid if you don't find a solution. For you to do that, you're going to be facing various problems. Clients are going to come to you with problems as small as 10,000 ringgit to some as big as 10 million ringgit. So the thought process that goes into that, to spark that thought process, you need a great form of curiosity. I mean, I don't think any teacher or school can teach you these things, but I think if you find yourself somebody who's very curious, somebody who's always driven to learn, and you want to be out there solving problems, I think this would be a great profession for you. The second one is intensity. Now, intensity comes in various forms. Intensity may come in the form of the way you speak and how passionate you are, but I think the reality of the job is long hours. You might hear this across the board for other professions as well, and I think the idea, that's where this idea of work-life balance comes into place. I'm not going to touch about work-life balance because I'm still trying to find it, and I think many of our parents and people who are seated here are still looking at it, but let's not get into that. But you have to be prepared to put long hours. That's I think the key to anything great, if you want to find your niche, is putting in the hours. I don't think there's any compromise on that. So that's the second in the Sikh acronym. I is intensity, K knowledge. Again, something that sounds too cliche, and you know, everybody's like, what kind of knowledge? The thing with being a lawyer is you don't only need to know how to read the law. Anybody can pick up a textbook and read the law. I mean, anybody can. Nowadays on websites, you go and find public available resources. Anybody can find that. Now, I think everybody is driven to find, so you've got to find a solution. You need to know the law, and then you need to know how to apply to the problem. So what we are faced is with, how do you know what business concepts apply, what kind of commercial concepts, because everybody wants a solution to the problem, but they also need to know how much it's going to be costing them to solve the problem. So that's one problem. And this idea of knowledge is something that my bosses even till today kind of force on me, because having to keep up with latest developments, thankfully with technology, it really helps. But I think because there is so much information, you have to pick and be selective about what you read. And in university, yes, you will have the legal database, you will have your online database, but over and above that, if you are, again, tied to being curious and solution driven, you would start reading a bit more than just what's made available to you. And I think in universities, correct me if I'm wrong, they still give you reading lists for different subjects. So apart from your textbook, you have to read a lot more. So there is no way you're going to run away from reading. I tell you that until today. The last thing is something that I think I just want to speak on, which is honesty. So yes, we all thought to be good people and good human beings, but I'll be very honest to you, being honest in this profession is very important and also very costly at the same time. Why costly? Because I think the idea of being a lawyer is that you are, have you seen that statue sorry, I should have put a picture on it, the blind lady, so the blind lady holding on the scale. So she's called Blind Lady of Justice. She's a Greek goddess who believes that justice is blind. Why is that? Because justice doesn't look at your color, your appearance, and that also extends to what kind of problems you come, because lawyers don't pick their clients. I'll be very honest, you don't pick your clients, they come with a set of problems and you are meant to find a solution. So being honest will help you figure out what is important to your client and how you're going to convey that to the judge and find the best solution. But I think when we talk about being a lawyer, there are several stakeholders. First, you got your boss. Second, you got your client. Third, you got your opponent. Fourth, you got the judge. So you're looking at many people to deal with and manage expectations. So being honest all the time is so important, but you also need to know, all I say is you need to know when to say what. Don't hide things or conceal things. That's not what I'm saying at all, because that's where if you start to lie, you start to hide things from people pick it up eventually and they'll never trust you again. And that's why your integrity in this line of profession is up there. Nobody will look at you if you're somebody who goes around, being any short from truthful. So I mean, these are values and virtues that I think are also universal, but I just try to designate at least 4 that you must bear in mind, because nobody's going to tell you this in university. I wasn't told about this in university, so I think it's something that's worth sharing. So with that in mind, I'd just like to move forward to, if you think these are aspects and virtues and values you can develop and want to hone, what are the practice areas available to you? Now, the first and most common one is criminal law. I mean, I don't have to explain that thing, but what we deal with in practice, most of the time, criminal lawyers are dealing with drugs, abuse, trafficking, whole lot and sort. When it comes to, so leave criminal aside, which is actually quite a big, huge area, then there's also civil law, and civil law is where you're dealing with people, you're dealing with money, you don't longer dealing with people being sent to jail or paying fines. That's, just to put it in context, civil is where I got a problem with you, for example, and I want money from you, simple as that. Civil between people, in that sense, between people, between companies, between organizations, everybody wants their sense of justice, and mostly in civil law, sense of justice is in monetary terms. In criminal law, it's my liberty, my life, you're going to sentence me to jail. So that's how I differentiate criminal and then civil. Within civil, you got so many branches, and I mean, why I highlighted some of these is because these are the most common practice areas available, and most people spend a lot of their lives doing these things. So banking could be as simple as a conveyancing transaction, like buying a house, buying a property, and you can get as complex as, what if there's a construction project and somebody defaults the loan, who's going to pay for that? So, this kind of things become a bit more problematic as they go on. And family can be custody, can be child, divorce, abuse, anything within a household, that is a family law practitioner. Labor, actually that's an American word, but we usually say employment law expert here, because employment is a bit wider. Labor is between an employee and an organization. That's labor laws are there, but employment can also be between companies or between my boss and me. Nowadays, the upcoming series of cases for employment, leaving aside not being paid on time, is also unfortunately harassment in workplaces. So that is something that people are a bit more vocalized and a bit more open and willing to speak for themselves. We no longer live in a generation where people are stifled and everybody's mouth is kept shut. I mean, nowadays with having the whole Twitter Me Too movement come along, I think more and more people are a bit more aware of what their rights are and a bit more ready to speak for themselves, which is fantastic. Maritime is also another word for shipping. So maritime is everything but the law of the sea. So if you got usually what happens is a collision. So I mean, you all would have heard news lately about the Suez Canal and how shipping and even in the pandemic, how it's affected shipping routes and lanes. People are jamming up. People's goods are being jammed up on containers. So somebody has to deal with that, and there are a lot of lawyers who only deal with those kind of problems. Tax can be anything from corporate to personal, mostly corporate because you get paid more, but that's where the money is. Personal is your own personal financing, and even an accountant can do that. But corporate taxation is a bit more complex, and I think businesses are a bit more creative nowadays in how they do accounting and finance. So lawyers also find solutions to, they say you should find ways to avoid tax, not evade tax. Although it's a linguistic thing, but avoiding tax is not criminal, but evading tax is. Anyway, that's just a flavor of what tax law practitioners deal with. I think this is an important slide, probably the most important for me. I just want to do some myth busting. I think the first one being that all lawyers are rich. I mean, sorry to say, that's not the case. The honest truth is, so if you recall the slides earlier, after you do your law degree, you go to pupillage. So that's your housemanship for lawyers. I kid you not, until today I still hear people being paid 800 ringgit outside of KL to do that. I mean, today's day and age, 800 ringgit is, sorry to say, nothing. But to be paid 800 ringgit at that stage in life, a lot of people would already be discouraged. So you may have the biggest of aspirations, you may want to be the best lawyer, then you go and earn in a law firm 800 ringgit. That is sad. Anyway, not all lawyers are rich because not everybody has the same access to opportunities, and not everybody is as, I wouldn't say not entrepreneurial, but definitely not as creative with making money, because it depends on what your priorities are in life. Do you prefer more family time? Do you prefer any other thing that makes you spend less time practicing law? Because I mean, what we hear nowadays about human rights law and criminal and all, trying to defend people's rights, I'll be honest to you, that's not where the money is. But what justifies the means of doing that kind of work is the entire satisfaction and the fulfillment that you get from standing up for people's rights, not because there is money, but because there is this greater benefit. And if you are somebody who's more worried and concerned about what the greater benefit of your work is, then that is naturally the line of work that you do. If you are more concerned about how you make money at the end of the day, which is still important, then you would find stuff like tax law, you would find maritime law more exciting, and that's generally how the practice and how lawyers generally work towards. It's either you want benefit for people or benefit for yourself, which up to you. It's not, there's no judgment in that. Second thing is we don't need to know law, science and maths. I mean, a lot of people would probably think you don't need to know that. But if you do stuff like insurance law, there is a lot of medical negligence, there is a lot of people who are suffering from broken parts of their bodies, and understanding what the names are and those contexts, that because if a certain part of your body is broken, it gives a certain value that you can be compensated for. So like, for example, your thigh bone, if you break that, you probably get compensated more for your thigh bone than it would be for your, I don't know, your toe. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, but there is literally law for that. And if you need to know, there is an entire list for these things, which I can show you later. Maths is also important. I mean, I feel not just that you need to be number crunching all the time, but I think it gives you a set of an analytical mind, and that helps with your solution-driven approach whenever you do any form of work. Finance and accounts. Now, people would say, I don't need to know finance accounts. It's just law. I'll just pick up the law book and read it. No, you don't. And that's kind of also why there is no prerequisite for what you need to know to join a law degree, because finance and accounts, as much as I hate it, it's still something that everybody will eventually have to deal with, because you're going to be dealing with company financial statements. You're going to be reading how people hide their money, how people movement of monies affect a person's case, or how that would benefit your case. And if you don't know how to read that, I tell you right now, you are at the losing end. So, and of course, eventually, if you decide to open your own practice, you need to know finance and accounting. You need to be paying your costs, your overheads. You need to be paying for people's salaries. So that is something you have to learn. And of course, it's a process. But you shouldn't think now itself that, oh, I don't need to know these things, because it doesn't matter. And again, science, maths, law, and science, maths, finance, accounts, again, these are things that are not taught in any of the law degrees. Just saying. So this is why reading over and above your law books is so important. The last one, do I really have to say this? Okay, I mean, apart from that being so defamatory, I don't think all lawyers are liars. I'll be very honest to you. I mean, I think I dealt with it earlier. Being honest is such an important toolkit to survive in this profession. So if you are a liar, if you are found to be a liar, in the eyes of the judge or client, whoever it may be, honestly, nobody's going to ever trust you again. So I think the key is, your word is, you got to walk the talk. And I think even like the simple, I think, for example, I think my opponent dealt with, he just had to hide one case from me, and I just had to show up the next day in court and show him how wrong he was, and that was enough to just change the entire course of the judge's mind. I mean, it is that kind of margin. So these are little things that people take for granted, but I think are so important that are missed, and not something you're going to learn in university. But of course, I'd be happy to share above and over this in the Q&A session. Perhaps we can open the floor for Q&A, and yeah, perhaps for it. Okay, yeah, okay, no problem. And Dr. G and myself will be available at the booth. Because of time constraints, we would like to move on to the next one. So if in case you forgot our names, Dr. Harmahinder, Alvin Dave, you'll find us downstairs. Thank you so much for your time. Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you to Associate Professor Dr. Harmahinder and also Alvin Dave. So actually we are a bit slightly delayed, not so much. So the Q&A session will be dealt on later on at about give and take about maybe 11:50 or so. So now what we will have here is business, finance and accounting. And after that, at the same time, currently downstairs, they are ending engineering. You're going to start with computing, AI, and also data science. So business, accounting, and finance, and the computing, IT stuff will be concurrently up here and down. So after that, we'll have the session for UPU will be up here. That will be just after we complete our business, accounting, and finance. Now it's roughly what time? 10:50. So give and take about maybe about 11:20 or so. The UPU will start. UPU session 11:25 around there. Okay. So all right. So thank you again, Professor Saab and Arvind. Thank you so much. Okay. So we can have our panelists for the business, accounting, and finance up here. Yeah. Okay, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Good morning. So I'm Jaspal. I'm from Sunway University. I will be being the moderator for today's session for the business, accounting, and finance. And I will just pass the mic for all the other panelists to introduce themselves. So okay, start with Sharmila. Within a minute or so.
Sure. Hi. Morning, everyone. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm Sharmil, and I am the HR Director for Volvo Group Malaysia, Singapore, and soon to be Japan. 27 years in the working industry. 10 years when I first started was in IT, so I'm actually a computer science graduate, and then I slowly moved into HR. So that's a little bit about me.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Kiran. I lead Ipsos Business Consulting throughout APAC. For those who do not know about Ipsos, Ipsos is a French company. We are present in 90 countries with 20,000 employees. In Malaysia, we have about 600 employees. So in Ipsos, we have two divisions. One is market research, one is consulting. So I'm leading the consulting division in APAC.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Manjit. I'm also from Sunway University. I'm currently attached to the business school. We are in the Department of Economics and Finance. And I'm also the program coordinator for the financial economic program. Thank you.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Karamveer Singh. I'm currently a business analyst with Shell. I support Shell Australia. What I do is that I'm involved with the planning of the business, the appraisal of the business, and also the reporting aspect of it. So these are three different things that the team that I work with, that's what we do. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So the way we're gonna to do the discussion session today is that we're gonna ask the panelists about the area of expertise they are currently at, and how that changes in terms of the hiring especially, and also in terms of the future job demands in that current area. So I'll start with Shamil first. So you said that you have been in the HR for 27 years?
About 17 years.
17 years, okay. Prior to that you were in IT, right? So in terms of hiring, do you see there is any the current trends in terms of or changing trends in terms of hiring someone from a different background, doing a job, example in logistics and supply chain, for example? Do you see that trend coming in, especially as you know you have been in DHL for some time before you joined Volvo?
So I think there's always different approaches when you're looking out for career, right? Number one is the career that you go for, the one that you studied for, right? So I'm sure parents here would agree that whatever stream that you study, parents would have this level of expectations that you need to go into that particular career stream. So that's one. Two is that you do a degree or your studies in an area that is not really in demand in the market these days, right? So I hired Karamveer. When we were working together in DHL, you can ask him, and we were both in the shared services environment, right? So he came in, he developed his skills. There's always, in an employment perspective, there's always what we call a 70% or 80% on-the-job learning, right? So it's up to the individual, whether you're willing, even though you have done a degree in a different stream, but it's at the end of the day, it's your willingness and whether you want to work for a different role, different environment, different company than what you studied for, which is what I did and happened to me as well. Thirdly is functional, right? So if you're an accounting student, right? Let's say you've done accounting, is ACCA, right? ACCA, CPA, right? These are all very related qualifications to accounting, right? So this is very functional. But then you go and work in a different environment. So it will be a little bit difficult. It's not doable, but it will be difficult. So if you're in a functional learning environment, a functional degree, then go into a functional role, right? So seek out for something that is accounting based or finance based and whatever. So these are the three, I guess, approaches that we as employees would look for. Now for me personally, I don't really hire for qualification, right? I always hire for character, behavior, right? Aptitude, right? IQ, EQ. I look for that in a candidate. So I have hired many people under my leadership that don't have the relevant degree but have the right attitude. In this day and age, I think we call it life skills. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Taylor's Uni was the first ones to launch a course of study in life skills. So life skills are other skills that you carry, that you bring across to an employer when you come into a profession, right? So life skills are like what the previous VGs have mentioned: communication, negotiation, resilience, and so on and so forth. So that's basically my perspective.
Okay, thank you, Sharmil. So I think, as what Sharmil has just mentioned, that I think what is important is what are the candidates bringing to the company in terms of their soft skills, in that say. So I think sometimes the word soft skills is not supposed to, to be looked at something not as important. I think it's a bit misleading to call it soft skills. I think it's really essential skills rather than soft skills. Life skills, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that is something we have been seeing also in the university. I think Manjit also will definitely agree to that. What normally we see is that when we get students coming in, one of the major shifts that we see over time is that students do not have that level of EQ as what they used to have those days. I would say those days, I would say maybe perhaps maybe in the 1990s when we started as lecturers, compared to now roughly about give and take about 30 years. So sometimes parents, even students themselves, they are too focused on the subject area. Passion is important. You should go in area where you're passionate about. But just having that passion without having the life skills, as you mentioned, will not be able to help you much in climbing the corporate ladder in the future. You might go somewhere, but not beyond that. I believe that is what I think is happening currently as well. True. So moving on to Manjit now. So Manjit is currently in Sunway University as a program leader for the economic and finance program. So my question to you, Manjit, is that economics, we always see something as a very too specific in nature. When we attach finance to it, it becomes a little bit more commercial. So if let's say looking at economics by itself, what do you see as a program itself in terms of the demand, in terms of students wanting to join the program? And let's say they decide that, what would be the possible job prospects? I think that might link again to Ipsos later, but see what Manjit has to say on that. Manjit.
Yes, about economics, right? When I was doing my economics bachelor degree, I remember many people were interested. And from time to time, we noticed that not as many people are interested in doing economics because it's not as commercialized. It's more for, when you learn economics, it's more for you to learn to become a researcher. You think about how to help the country, policy decisions. So most of the time during my graduation, I remember my course-mates and I, most of us end up in the banks, or some of us who are really very nerdy, bookworms kind, ended up in the research institutes. Okay, so they become economists, right? So now more and more people are thinking about, what if I want to think about more on business kind of jobs, more commercialized jobs, then they combine it with financial economics. That's where finance and economics come together. So most of the degrees that you see now, there are not as many economics degree offered. They are still in the public universities. There are some private universities, especially the offshore universities like Nottingham, Southampton, HELP also I think has. They have pure economics degree. But if you go to other private institutions, including Sunway, Taylor's, you will notice they mix it up, UCSI, they mix it up with financial economics, not economics alone. Because we want to have the students, the job opportunities that they will get will be more diverse. So if you have financial economic degree or even finance degree, your job opportunities will be more towards, again, banking. You can join the banking system. You can also become financial analyst, which is now a trend, growing trend among the people. Financial analyst, and also some of them will become they join the investment banks, and also they become equity valuers and things like that. So I feel if you are worried about just economics alone, you can have something like financial economics or financial analysis, which gives you a broader opportunities for job market. Yeah.
Finance forensics. So we always know forensics to be in the I don't know, criminal rights. You all watch CSI. I don't know if you watch CSI, but this day and age, financial forensics analysis is a new profession that we also go after. So these are people that analyze numbers, figures, facts to catch fraudsters in a business.
Okay, thank you, Sharmil, to add on that. So I think if you notice that the direction is going more to numbers. It's all about number crunching. It's all about having the ability to analyze. So I think I will pass this now to Kiranjit, because your area is very interesting. Ipsos is about research and consulting. So perhaps you can shed some light about what exactly that we do in that area, and also what sort of career pathways do we see in the region of consulting and also research. Thank you.
Okay, but before that, we need to understand there are two types of professions. One is regulated professions, like medical, architecture, a bit of finance, quantity surveyors, and so on. For those kind of professions, you need to have certain qualifications, right? Okay, those are regulated professions. But 80% to 85% of all professions, it doesn't matter what degree or what education background you are coming from, you can become one. Okay, so regulated is only about 15%, like law degree, law, medical, architecture, quantity survey, and so on. 85%, no matter what degree you take, it doesn't matter. Okay, as what my colleague mentioned just now, is the most important thing which I look at the candidate is, number one, general knowledge, right? General knowledge includes a bit of economics also, okay? Just normal thinking, right? Number two, critical analytical skills, creativity, and good life skills. So those are the hygiene factors for any kinds of job you want to do besides the regulated ones, okay? So what I do exactly, my clients, by the way, I'm an engineer, right? I'm an engineer. I did a lot of things. Finally, I ended up in consulting. Why I like consulting, I've been doing this about 15 years, longest job I have had so far, is because every day is a different day. Every day is a school day. Where I say I learn every day something new. My clients are very diverse. For example, in the morning, I'll be having a call with TikTok, for example. TikTok is having problems actually in many ways. Then we will have a talk with some of the ministries to solve certain problems and so on. So speaking of economics, I like economics, and I think all of us, whether you do a degree or you learn on your own, actually I learned economics on my own. You can learn the economics on your own actually. You don't have to go to universities and so on. It's quite common sense, right? So for example, one of our clients right now is Live Nation. Have you heard Live Nation? You heard? Okay. Yes, so they bring concerts and so on, right? So they want to get subsidies or grants from the government in Singapore and the grants from Korean government. So what we need to do is to understand the economic contribution, like how much value they bring by bringing these concerts. Like, Taylor Swift did a lot of good things for Singapore government and so on, right? So we need to qualify that economic contribution, okay? Again, I'm an engineer. I was a bad student, but if you just use common sense, critical sense, and so on, it's easy to do, okay? So that's a bit about consulting. Again, it's not a regulated industry. Anybody can be a consultant. Okay, so you don't have to do a 4-year. One of my consultant, actually, he did not pass his degree. He joined me when he was waiting for exams, results. He did not qualify, but doesn't matter. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Kiranjit. So now looking at, we have covered from a general perspective of what HR person will look at in terms of jobs. We covered economics, we talk about research, and it was very interesting, Kiranjit, you mentioned that you put it very clearly, there is structured and so unstructured. So I think what we're looking at currently is that a lot of unstructured kind of jobs are being created. And I think the sessions earlier we had gig economy and social media. That also is pretty much an unstructured area totally. The whole field is unstructured. Yeah, actually, exactly. COVID have expedited a lot of things and have brought up something which was never thought ever we will see. And in the industries, the jobs are so different. So, and but now we go to Karamveer. Karamveer will be talking about something close to my heart as well, as I'm accounting graduate. So I did accounting degree. So I teach accounting in Sunway University. So Karamveer is also an alumni of Sunway. So But he got a very interesting background. I just put it a little bit. He's from science streams actually. He did science stream. And then I remember him coming over to INTI many years back when I was there, and he had a different thing what he wanted to do at that point of time. When he came with his parents to INTI. At that time I was working in INTI in Nilai. And then after that I came to know that he is doing ACCA, and then he completed ACCA. So you see the shift from a pure science stream student who is doing something which is pretty much something, people look at pure art stream, accounting and law is like very much related to an art stream kind of thing. So, but the job he's doing currently, he's a business analyst in Shell. And my question to you, Karamveer, is that, see, business analyst is pretty much what we do in accounting. There are two major areas. One is management accounting, one is financial accounting. So what he's doing now is something which is management accounting related. That's you're looking at the business acumen that you must have is different. But what he studied is actually very much pro into financial accounting. ACCA is very much into accounting standards. So why this change? Number one, and then how do you see this management accounting stream versus to the pure accounting like tax and assurance that we see in big accounting firms, the big four, Arthur Andersen bankrupt anyway. We have PwC, we have Ernst & Young, KPMG, and Deloitte. So these firms they hire a lot, and all of them leave these firms after a few years. As I think what you were mentioning earlier, also they just want to get there for the experience, so that they become chartered accountants, and they move on to something else. So, what's your thoughts about that and the future of accounting graduates? From your perspective, I think you're the youngest among all of us here. We're not that old though, but you're very young. So, what's your perspective on that? Thank you, Karamveer.
I feel it's like an exam question like that, no? Actually, I'm trying to recall what's the question, but I do remember. So anyways, the question that was asked was on management accounting and financial, and why did I make the switch? So I'm a bit of a believer that if you want to learn finance, you want to learn accounting, you need to cover the whole scope, right? I am not a believer of being a specialist. I think being a specialist is a thing of past, right? In today's generation, and what we should be looking forward to is to do a bit more of a generalist kind of a role, which means you touch a bit of here, you touch a bit of there, you touch a bit of here, and you get a feel of everything, especially in finance, because the field is extremely huge. And the beautiful thing is that for any business, right, what's the most important function? Finance. Why? A business runs to make money. And if you want to move up the ladder, we all work for money, right, at the end of the day. If you want to move up the ladder, you better know as much as you can, rather than picking something and then going deep into it, right? So that was one of the reasons why I moved from financial accounting to management accounting. The skill set is quite different. Financial accounting is you report on things that has happened, so it is things that has happened in the past. Management accounting is about the future. So you're forecasting, you're budgeting, you're planning. So the skill set from this difference itself, it's quite, it's not really the same anymore, right? I like one of the questions that Virji asked just now, because he actually asked me earlier downstairs on what's the difference with those who then work in the Big Four, for example. Any accountant that you ask them, right, everybody wants to work in the Big Four. But the question is, why do you want to work in the Big Four? One is the branding. Big Four gives you very, very good training. Secondly, Big Four are those companies which can actually sign off for you to become a chartered accountant. But maybe I can take this opportunity to also bust this myth. I didn't work in a Big Four, but I'm a chartered accountant today. Because there are other companies out there, other employers out there who can also sign on your experience, right? So going to the Big Four is not just that one, like die, so I have to go there. Because some of us, I know that we want to become accountants, but I don't want to work in Big Four. I don't want to do that audit. I don't want to do that tax. There are some of us, I can see a lot of nodding, because that's the truth, right? You lose a lot of your life, basically. You don't have that work-life balance anymore. There are things that you have to sacrifice if you choose those kind of pathway. Please don't get me wrong, whatever pathway that we are speaking about, right, a lot of sacrifices are required for that as well. Any professional field for that matter, be it medicine, law, accounting, HR for that matter, you will need to sacrifice. So there is no such thing that, hey, this is an easy course, that is a difficult course, right? Maybe the last one is on the future. I think that accounting is going to be something which is might go extinct, especially in the bookkeeping aspect of it. Why? We are seeing how fast is AI coming up, right? Bookkeeping is a role that I think can be done by systems, that can be automated. AIs can do it. So the question then comes is, where do I fit in this picture? How do I then contribute? That for me was a wake-up call when I was working in DHL. Then I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. Now, Penji mentioned something just now about financial economics, financial analysis and those kind of things. If you want to contribute back in this field, right, in my opinion, my personal opinion, right, you have to be very, very close to the business. Accounting is a role that is very back end. It's a very important, crucial role, but we are at the back end. Why? We just record transaction, we give the bill, it's just day to day to day. But if you can place yourself closer to the business, which means where or how the company makes money, or how does it save or reduce costs, you automatically are able to give advice. Analyze is one thing, advising is another thing. Analysis is not a very difficult skill. A lot of the job market out there, I'm a business analyst, right? One of my team members doesn't even have financial experience at all. She's a programmer. And she can learn financial analysis. You just build data models, you let the model do the work. The real work comes from, how do I then summarize this into maybe one sentence to tell my boss? Imagine, got one whole grandmother kind of a story, but then how do you summarize it? That I think is the skill that we should start targeting and focusing on. Yeah.
Thank you, Karamveer. So he have thrown the spanner in the works about accounting. So I will come to that later. I saw Kiranjit scribbling something. I think you want to say something? No? Oh, no? Okay. So I thought you may have something you want to share. No?
Something simple. I think we only have a few more minutes to go, so I'll just wrap it up quite fast based on my perspective about AI for the future and so on. Okay, but picking up from what he said just now is be visible. If you are working back end, your career path is limited. Okay, be visible. So be as close to the decision-making process rather than supporting role and so on. Okay, now thinking about the future, if your work is like a robot's work, a robot will take over your job. Okay, you think yourself, if your job is doing the same thing over again, it can be easily automated and a robot can take over. Okay, number one. Number two, AI will not take away your job. Okay, AI will not take away a job, but those who know how to use AI will take away a job from people who do not know how to use AI. Okay, remember that. Okay, when I say someone will take a job away from those who do not know how to do AI, because you're not only competing with Malaysians, but you're also competing globally right now. Okay, now, number three, what is the most important thing you learn in school or university? What? Your life skills. Number two is the art of learning. Okay, like I said, every day is a school day for me. I don't know what's AI before. I'm learning. Okay, so every day is a school day. So if you master the art of learning, you can go far. Okay, so these are the three key messages which I would like to share. Okay, and again, don't worry about being an expert. Be a generalist is fine as long as you know who to reach out to when you need support. For example, the government engaged us to understand the impact of fuel. If you remove fuel subsidy, the petrol subsidy, what will happen to Malaysia? All right. So for that, we work with Sunway University, Professor Mangindran, and so on. Like I said, I know a bit of economics, but not as good as them. So we engaged the Professor Mangindran from Sunway University and so on to help us to do all the calculations and so on. You know what I mean? So you can work with many people and so on. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Kiranjit. So I have a burning question that I want to actually ask our HR expert. How do you see this work-life balance culture, work-life balance? It's something always we talk about. Parents ask the same thing when we handle open days in the university. Students and parents ask, because every job, correct me if I'm wrong, every job have its own long hours. Whether it's medical, those who are becoming medical professionals, doctors, nurses, engineers. Even I have one of my colleague whose kids are in what do you call this commercial one of advertising. Even that also takes quite a bit of time. Weekends are taken because of deadlines. The moment there are deadlines, they have to work throughout. There's no such thing as you have 8 to 5 job per se. So we see that in accounting as well. In Big Four, that's no such thing. We call it 9 to 5 job. The 9 to 5 actually means 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. There's no p.m. That's just joking. It's not supposed to be until 5 a.m. But there's no timing per se. Job to be done, you got to do it. But the only thing now is that because of, I think post-COVID, when we are able to work from home, so that have facilitated a little bit in terms of, in a way, we think we are back home and we are not at work, but we're still working anyway. So from HR perspective, is there any direction of this? Because our HR Minister, Stephen Lim, I think he mentioned about that kind of flexibility. Even Singapore was talking about that kind of flexibility. Will it come, or is it just a myth?
To be honest, it's already there, right? So it depends on employers. COVID, it was literally 90 to 100%. Unless you're in essential goods, then it's a different story. Then came the notion of 50-50, 50% working from home, 50% working from office. Now guess what? It's 60-40. 60% expectation work in the office, 40% is from home. So it's still there. The laws have mandated that you can actually put in a request for flexible work hours. So if you want to be a progressive or inclusive employer, we will embrace that, that's for sure. But work-life balance is basically a topic of the past, right? So I'm a Gen X, right? I think most of you guys are Gen Z, Gen Y, I think that's coming out in the workforce right now. A lot of you, from my experience, expect work-life balance. And in all honesty, there's no such thing as work-life balance anymore, right? Even for me, people like me, So when I started working, I didn't care. I could work long hours because those days there was no such thing as work-life balance. But now everyone talks about work-life integration. Right? So how do you bring your passion into work? In having said that, it's okay for you to work long hours because why? You want to learn. But it's also okay for you to finish work at 6 o'clock or 6:30. Right? So I am a manager that tell my staff, even though I work till 8, 9 o'clock, it doesn't mean I want to see you working in the office till 6 o'clock, 6:30. These days, in the employment world, it's all about lifestyle. Hey boss, I want to finish 6 o'clock, I need to go back, I want to go to the gym, I want to go work out, I want to go running, I want to go and attend to my child. Go. For me, at the end of the day, it's the work, right? As long as your work is done, you don't miss any deadlines, it's a different story. Now, I think for the accounting profession, it's a little bit unique because they've got month-end closing. Expectation is that you actually sit and you work long hours during month-end closing. What flexibility do we give? Work from home. It's okay. Right? I have a little bit, I'm a bit sticky when people say, I have to work till 2 a.m. in the morning, but I have to do it in the office. No lah, come on lah. We live in this day and age where you can actually take work home and work from home, right? So I think like in the profession of a doctor, right? Doctorate profession, they work crazy long hours, right? Do they complain? Do they go and file a case in the labor ministry or labor court? No, because that is what expected. That is what is expected out of them in the profession they do. So I think it's a balance. It's up to you how you work things out. But what I've seen is, if I compare the Asians' way of working versus the Western way of working, there's always the question of productivity. How productive are you when you're sitting on a 9 to 6 or 9 to 6:30 p.m. job, right? Chances are you're not productive. If you compare to the Western world, honestly, they're probably about 20 to 30% more productive than us Asians, right? Why? Because we tend to take long lunch hours. Lunch hour, very important. Must take 1 hour lunch because I need to, have that break in my head, right? But for them, I don't care. I'll just go for a 20-minute sandwich, have a sandwich, quick bite, and back to work again, right? And they actually leave early, right? Holidays, we Asians, I'm talking about myself also. Holiday, no holiday, makes no difference to me, right? I'm still expected to log on, especially with this best friend now that we have, right? We carry everywhere. But for the Westerners, no. If I'm on leave, I'm on leave. Don't disturb me, right? So it's also a cultural element to it as well, which we need to start advocating ourselves, with regards to work-life integration.
Quick thing about work from home. If you can work from home, you can work from India also, right? Correct? So what will happen? The Indian fellow will take away your job. So remember that, okay? So go to the office, be visible with your bosses and so on. That's the only way you'll be recognized, get recognition, get more responsibilities, and your job will not be outsourced to an Indian guy. Okay? Remember that.
Manjit, you have anything to add? Karamveer? Oh, good. Okay, so we have heard from our panelists about a lot of things, very exciting, very interesting, very insightful, some very much into the future as well. So I would like to summarize what we have discussed today, this morning, because being in the academic, we handle a lot of open days. I can't even remember how many I've handled. So, and we have a lot of parents and students who come and ask us, and sometimes we tend to get the same generic kind of questions. And furthermore, I have kids who are, my daughter is just completing her degree, my son just entered into his degree program. So I have also gone through the same phase, the same process about trying to understand what exactly they want and what are my expectations of them as well. So the conclusion, again, it's a personal opinion plus with also my experience that I've dealt with many. By the way, I've been in the teaching professions for about, 20 over years, 22, maybe 22 years, give and take. So the bottom line is that, again, this again personal opinions. It's not, cast in stone that you have to follow this. It's always come to passion first. To me, what the child actually wants. But the problem is that the child doesn't know what he or she wants. So then what we say is that look at the end game. What exactly you aspire to be. So which again can change. Even the IT field, even an engineer, economics, okay, we are pretty much around the same field, because in academic we tend to be in the same field when we lecture. He did science stream, then he's in accounting, analytic, and now he's going to move into the business part of it. So things change. So we cannot have this mindset that whatever we are thinking now at the age of after SPM, and that's going to be sticking with us, all the way through until the end. Things will definitely change. So the more talks we attend, the more people we speak to, it opens up our mind more. That also goes for the parents as well, not only for the kids. The kids are too young to understand what they want in the next, maybe the next 5 years perhaps, One of my colleagues' son was very excited. He said he wanted to become a rubbish collector because he's the guys who are swinging at the truck. It's very, very cool and chill on doing that. So I mean they're very young at that point of time. But the point is that things change over time. But we have to make a decision at one point anyway, right? A point will come. You can do after SPM. You do a foundation, whatever pre-U. Okay, that's it. That's the only window you have to think. After pre-U, you got to enroll. You can still turn back, but not very advisable time-wise, money-wise, and all that. So we still have to make a decision at that point of time. So how do you make a decision? Is based on my personal opinion, is based on a passion first. You must find the passion. Whether you're going to stick on the passion, again, time will tell. When you did engineering, you liked it. When you do IT, you liked it. Maybe in between you didn't like, but initially you liked it, no? Well, I liked accounting through and through. From my SPM days up to my STPM public, I went to public uni UCAM, and all the way, I loved accounting all the way. So that's one passion I had all the time. Until now, I'm lecturing that. So maybe I'm a little bit different, not similar to the general public per se. So one of the outlier perhaps, yeah. But you have no other choice anyway, right? You got to make a decision. So how do you make, if you have no other way to think about it, no other reasoning to give you the profession, you go by passion. And subsequent to that, what all have mentioned is that you have to be agile. Yes. The agility is the key. Now, agility is not only about I did engineering, and now I'm a consultant. It's not only about that I'm willing to change. It's not only about that. Agility is also about being agile in your mindset, about the life skills. You've got to be visible. If you're going to be just sitting at the back and try to be, I hope no one notices me. Like playing hockey, when you get the ball, the first thing I want to do is that I want to get the ball away from me. Correct or not? So somebody else get the blame if something bad happens to the game or something like that. So you're not taking responsibility, not taking ownership. So you've got to be a bit responsible, to go a bit more brave in a way. So that bravery actually comes once you have the agility in mind. When you have the mindset that it's okay to change. No one will know you're going to change or not. So which program you're going to do? Well, go by passion first, then see where luck brings you. That's the reality in life. We have seen all the experiences from everybody. Here, the session today in Sabah House, one of the main things that we wanted to bring to the students and the parents is that the realities of the job market. You can add on this. Yeah.
Just on that, just adding on to what Jaspal has just said, there's one area that I think you guys need to discover yourself, and that is a behavioral assessment or a personality assessment. So I get a lot of times where people say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I like. I don't know what's my passion. I'm being forced to do this because my parents said so, which is also typically my case. That's why I didn't really like IT. So there is one website called 16personalities.com. It's called 16personalities.com. It's a free website. It's a free assessment, right? If you have time, do it. There's no right or wrong answer in that particular personality or behavioral assessment. What it is it's MBTI, which means it's a Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment. So it tells you your strengths, your weaknesses, what could be a potential area of career for you, who are the likelihood people that are matched to your personality. I've done it multiple times and it's always come up to be HR. So that's why I know HR is the right career for me. So try it, it's really good, and you will know and discover it yourself.
Thank you, Sharmila. So if let's say the 16personality.com doesn't work, let's say so my final advice is, whenever students come to me, they say that I don't know what to do, and then the art stream, let's say, you don't know what to do, you're okay with anything, accounting, finance. That's it. I mean, you want me to help you make decision? Very easy. And one of the best place to do accounting finance is Sunway University. It's known in the market. So, but seriously, I'm not promoting. But if you don't know what to do in our stream, the way forward is accounting finance. But I think one of the skills which is super important is what is required or what is being taught in economics, what's required in business analyst, and what's done in Ipsos is econometrics, which is all about statistics, all about numbers. The crunching of numbers is very important. You can survive pretty much anywhere. Why Big Four even take, my former roommate's son, he did bachelor's in chemistry in Imperial College London. He couldn't find a job. He's now an auditor with, I think, Ernst & Young in Edinburgh, Scotland. So they want analytical skills. Engineers, they are in audit firms as auditors. So what are they bringing? They are bringing the skills of how to analyze, looking things from different perspectives. So if you don't know what to do, doesn't matter, you can do whatever you want, eventually you will end up wherever you're meant to be. But if you really want help, Your art stream, accounting, finance. Case closed. Okay. All right. So I think anything else you want to add? I think all good. Okay. So I think we are done here. Thank you very much, and we can have a big round of applause for all the panelists here. Thank you so much. Very insightful. So we won't have a Q&A session now. We're supposed to, but I think we're running a bit off time. So we have a Q&A later at the booths, which is going to be happening after our UPU session. So now will be UPU here for roughly give and take about half an hour, 40 minutes. And after that, once the UPU session is over, downstairs we are setting up the booths. So it will only be opened after the UPU session. All right. So thank you very much, panelists. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. So we have our the next speaker, Mr. Kalai. Is he here, Mr. Kalai? Okay. Yeah, after this will be the booth session. Yeah, that will be given about roughly 40 minutes. Okay. So I think we're going to have more parents and students coming in. There's some space in front. Just introduce you. Okay, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So we are very privileged here to have Mr. Kalai Manan to present to us about UPU and some important pointers about public universities and so on. Mr. Kalai Manan is actually a deputy public prosecutor in Negeri Sembilan, and he is actually representing the concerned University Malaya Indians graduates. There is an association of such where their job is also to come and share knowledge and help our community in order for us to not make any mistakes when we are applying to public universities, to UPU and so on. So I will pass the floor to Mr. Kalai Manan. Thank you so much, and all back to you.
Hi. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kalai Manan. You can call me Kalai. Like what my friend addressed me just now. So we actually conduct these programs for SPM, STPM leavers. Your experience is going to come up very soon, 27 May. And we're going to do road shows from state to state and so on. So I'm very privileged and thankful to the organizers here for having us today. I'm actually here with my good friends, Miss Kanmani at the back. She's a consultant for ESG. She's also a senior facilitator for our programs. And her lovely wife, lovely husband, Mr. Sarah is here as well. He's an engineer. So we'll be downstairs in the booths, so you can, if you feel like you want to ask us about intake process and everything, you can feel free to do so. So usually I'll do this for 2 hours, okay? But I'm just given 30 minutes, 40 minutes today. So I'll try to be very quick. So it's gonna be a bit complex in the sense that it's layered with so many procedures and so on, but I'll try to do it in a very simple manner, okay? You can always come back to me and my good friends later, okay? All right, so to all the mothers here, happy Mother's Day, okay? Right, so this is what we do. It's called IPTA, my first choice. IPTA, as you know, it refers to Institute Pengajian Tinggi Awam. Yeah, my slides are in Malay and English, so I'll mix it up, okay? If that's okay with you all. All right, so this is the major, what you call as Tata Aliran Peluang Pengajian. So this is what you guys have to understand. So now you guys are here, SPM. So can I see some hands on STPM leavers here? STPM, anyone? No. Any matriculation leavers or students here? No. So all SPM leavers, SPM students. Okay. So now, so here you are in SPM. So the next step for you, eventually, I was told that you had a lot of sessions today. Eventually, maybe you would want to get a degree at some point of time, okay? But before that, you will have to go through a certain pre-university course, okay? It could be a diploma, it could be a asasi, what we call as foundation is called asasi within the government structure. It can also be STPM or matriculation, or if you are interested more on the TVET side, on the skills side, you can take up this certifications called Sijil Kemahiran Malaysia, Sijil College Community, and so on and so forth, okay? But I'm going to just focus on this part a bit, okay? Now, there's also another opportunity, which is IPG. For those who are keen to become teachers, educators, you can take up IPG. All these are opportunities available under the government structure. So I'm going to only talk about IPTAs, so I'm not going to touch on IPTS. All right, so your SPM results are very important in the sense that certain subjects are very much required to continue on certain fields or certain courses. Okay, sebagai contoh kita lihat kalau tak ada kredit dalam bahasa Melayu, kredit maksudnya C lah kan, so tak ada kredit dalam bahasa Melayu, peluang-peluang adik-adik sekalian untuk lanjutkan pengajian ke bidang-bidang ini sangat-sangat terhad ataupun tidak boleh langsung. Okay, so tiada kredit dalam matematik, dia ada limitasi juga. Tadi ada yang berkaitan dengan bidang perakaunan, so you need to have credit in mathematics in order to further your studies in those fields. There's also mathematics is very crucial. So bahasa, mathematics, and also in a certain way English is quite important. Okay, these are 3 important subjects that you will have to fulfill in order to further your studies into certain courses. And for those who are interested to become doctors and pharmacists and so on, you need to have at least 5 Bs, and those 5 Bs must come from bio, kimia, physics, mathematics ataupun admaths. You must have that because this is set by not the Kementerian Pendidikan but the Medical Council. Okay, even if you go to a private institution, you still have to fulfill this minimum bare requirement. Now let's touch on the asasi part. So once you have gotten your result, you would have actually applied in Fasa 1. Okay, have you guys applied Fasa 1 in UP online? Dah mohon Okay, so sekarang dapat keputusan 27 nanti, sekarang pun dah buka dah Fasa 2. So lepas ada keputusan 27 nanti, adik-adik boleh masuk balik portal UPU online, boleh mengemaskini pilihan-pilihan berdasarkan keputusan sebenar adik-adik sekalian. Okay, now daripada pilihan adik-adik ni, ada kursus-kursus yang lebih kurang kalau SPM leavers, we have a bit of limitations. Ada kursus-kursus yang khusus untuk Bumi Putra, ada yang boleh di-apply oleh mana-mana pihak, termasuk juga bukan Bumiputera macam kita. Okay, so ini kursus-kursus ni yang boleh kita apply. Sebagai non-Bumiputera, kita boleh mohon kursus-kursus ini. Semua kursus-kursus ini adalah 1 tahun yang adik-adik akan belajar di universiti. Lepas belajar boleh sambung pengajian di peringkat degree di universiti tersebut ataupun di universiti lain. Okay, so kita ada 2 jenis 2 types of asasi foundation programs. One is asasi tertutup, one is asasi terbuka. Okay, asasi tertutup maksudnya adik-adik bila masuk universiti tu, for example kita pilih asasi sains pertanian UPM. Okay, dah masuk UPM, adik-adik lepas 1 tahun tu tak boleh sambung belajar di universiti lain, kena sambung degree di UPM sahaja. Okay, nak ambil, boleh ambil ni, boleh juga sambung jadi doktor perubatan, boleh juga jadi veterinarian and so on. Nama je pertanian, jangan risau, tak perlu cucuk tanam semua. Okay, so kalau ambil asasi pintar UKM for example, adik-adik bebas untuk memilih UKM untuk lanjutkan pengajian ataupun universiti-universiti lain. Dia asasi terbuka. Okay, so ini satu kelebihan kalau asasi pintar UKM lah. Tapi asasi pintar UKM ni adik-adik kena mohon fasa 1. Fasa 2 dia tak muncul sebab dia adalah kursus yang mempunyai ujian khas. Okay, dah panggil untuk ujian khas? Ada yang dapat panggilan? Ada? Dapat panggilan untuk ujian khas? Tak ada? Okay, now. And after that you have asasi UPNM, pengurusan UUM, UMK and so on. There's a new program called asasi TVET, or now it has been rebranded as asasi kejuruteraan teknologi, where you guys will go to polytechnics and will study 1 year there, and upon your completion of a year there, you will continue your studies in UMP, UNIMAP, UTM and UTHM. These are technical institutes. Okay, you continue your degree. So 1 year asasi, 4 years degree adds up to 5 years, you will get a degree. Okay, this is a faster route. Okay, ini syarat-syarat lah, ni tak cukup masa untuk kita go through. Ni adik-adik boleh capai maklumat-maklumat ni melalui panduan UPU dan sebagainya. It's there. Okay, so ni syarat-syarat dia. Kalau asasi pintar UKM minimum 7 A- kena ada. So adik-adik sekarang tak ada result, macam mana nanti? Tak ada result, macam mana mohon? Boleh mohon dulu, nanti dapat result, tengok dulu layak ke tak layak. Kalau tak layak, sistem akan automatik akan buang kursus itu daripada pilihan adik-adik sekalian. This will come into effect 5 Jun hingga 9 Jun tu. Bermula 5 Jun, result keluar 27 bermula 5 Jun, automatic sistem akan padankan keputusan anda dengan sistem. So whatever courses that you are not eligible to apply, it won't be there. Okay, except for interview courses. But interview courses, if you have applied, if you have not been selected for the interview, you can kemaskini to other courses. Okay, now alright, so these are some informations, but I'll skip it. There's another opportunity which is matrikulasi. You should have applied before this. Matrikulasi, just to give a brief introduction, it's also similar to asasi. 1 year you'll be studying in college matrikulasi Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. Okay, but the advantage of matrikulasi is that upon completion you can apply to all the 20 public universities. Okay, based on your jurusan. They have like jurusan sains, kejuruteraan, perakaunan, and coming soon sains komputer next year lah. Tahun ni tak ada, next year. Okay, so berdasarkan jurusan ini, adik-adik boleh mohon kepada universiti-universiti untuk peringkat ijazah nanti. Ini matrikulasi. Permohonan matrikulasi.moi.gov.my telah pun dibuka dan ditutup. I hope that you guys applied. Okay, so this is another faster route. 1 year matriculation, 4 years degree, 5 years, and then you get a degree. Similar to asasi. Okay, so ni syarat-syarat I don't want to go through. Kita kekurangan masa. Okay, and then there's STPM. Okay, this is very much recommended. I went through STPM, then I got selected to read my law in UM. So STPM is very much recommended because cheap. You don't have to actually pay anything besides than your maybe your makan money and all these things, your duit saku, but you don't have to pay to the school anything. Okay, and it's very much recognized, globally recognized Okay, it's a Cambridge assessment. You can use your STPM results equivalent to A level. You can further your studies in mostly Commonwealth countries, even our neighbors Singapore, NUS, NTU, University of Manchester, Liverpool, they all recognize your STPM. Okay, so it's very much recommended. You'll be studying for 1.5 years. You don't have to apply for anything. Layak akan dapat tawaran. Kalau layak akan dapat tawaran. Minimum syarat dia berapa? 3 kredit. Bahasa Melayu kena ada kredit. Okay, nanti lepas keputusan SPA diumumkan, lepas tu ada satu link sst6.moi.gov.my. Adik-adik boleh key in your IC number dan dapatkan tawaran. Okay, so ini sangat-sangat recommended lah. Okay, alright. Then there's IPG for those who are interested to become teachers. You can apply. You should have applied before this because now it has been closed. So I'm just going to skip this for that matter. Okay, then you have diploma programs. Diplomas are 3-year programs. Diploma programs varies. You can study in University Awam and also in Polytechnic, okay, and other skills institutions. Okay, it's 3 years or sometimes certain courses are 2.5 years. Okay, so diploma is for students who are quite certain of what they want to do, but they would want to take some time to learn it. And there is a bit of emphasis given on skills. Okay, so 70% would be theory, 30% would be practical if it's in Polytechnic. Maybe in the public universities it could be more, 100% theory. But in skills training institutions it could be 70% skills, 30% theory. So it all depends on what kind of person you are, what you want to do. If you like to have your own sweet time, this is good. 3 years or 2.5 years, and after that you can continue your degree in public universities. Roughly 2-3 years here in diploma, and then you add up with the 3 years in public university if you get credit transfer. So you don't have to do the entire 4 years, you can do it in 3 years. So 6 years in total, so you can get a degree in 6 years. So that's how it works. It's a longer route, but it actually trains you to be more industrial competent, because you will go through a 6 months of industrial training later during your diploma period, okay, which is very, very helpful. Okay, Sigil, I'm going to skip. Maybe if you guys have, particular interest, you can refer to me later. Okay, so these are certain things that I would want to skip because I want to focus more on UPU today. Okay, these are the institutions that is available under the government structure. So we have covered public universities. I've talked a bit on IPG, Polytechnic, college community is where you pick up your skills certifications. Matriculasi, STPM we have covered. There's also IKBN, these are skills institution, JMTI, ATAC and ILP. These are all skills institution. This institution, the skills institution, they don't have any sort of quota. Okay, we can go, we can apply, no issue. The only place where quota is applicable is Matriculasi, which is 90% Bumiputra, 10% for non-Bumiputra. Okay, even that 10% is broken down to Chinese, Indians and line and so on. Okay, so here they have quota. The other places we don't have quota per se. Right? So this is actually the very institutions you can apply under UPU online structure. Okay, and there are 20 public universities, polytechnics and college community and so on, so forth. Okay, so these are Polytechnic. I'm gonna skip a bit on Polytechnic here. All right, these are skills institution that I've told you. Okay. All right, and we'll come to UPU Online. Okay, so UPU Online is a single entry point in which this is the only way you can enter public universities for subsidized program. If you have noticed, you may have received direct offers from universities. Like UM has its direct intake. Okay, UKM has its own, UPM has its own, but the fee structure is substantially high or similar to a private institution. Okay, so the reason why we promote public universities is the fee structure is very affordable. My degree, when I read law in UM, I only spent, my tuition fee is 8,800 for 4 years. Okay, if I did it outside in any of the private institution, it could be 80,000, 90,000 for the tuition fee itself. So it's very affordable in public universities. Hence, the competition is very, very high. Okay, so that is the difficulties that we face. So, when it comes to UPU Online, if you want a subsidized fee, this is the only pathway. okay, to go into. Now we are in fasa 2. Fasa 2 telah pun dibuka pada 29 April dan akan ditutup 9 Jun. Okay. Dan untuk pelajar-pelajar yang telah mohon fasa 1, tak perlu kemas kini apa-apa sekarang. Boleh tunggu nanti lepas dapat keputusan 27 Mei nanti. Tunggulah sampai 5 Jun ataupun tarikh-tarikh yang awal dia umumkan. Dia akan padankan dengan you punya keputusan dan boleh masuk dan kemas kini. Faham? Okay, kemas kini maksudnya you boleh adjust. Mungkin ada kursus yang you tak layak, you can tambah, you can tolak and so on. Okay. If you have not done application before, fasa 1 tak mohon, jangan risau, masih boleh mohon lagi. Tapi kali ini you kena beli PIN number. Sejak COVID, kerajaan tak kutip lagi PIN number, tak perlu beli. Tapi masa saya apply, kena beli PIN number. Sekarang pun kena pergi ke BSN untuk beli PIN number RM10.60. Okay. With that PIN number, then only you can apply. Without that, you cannot. So you have to buy the PIN number first, and then you can apply to upu.mohe.gov.my. Okay. So now we are in fasa 2. But if you have not applied, don't worry, you can still apply. Okay. Now, so this is the PIN number details where you can buy. You can go to BSN, Bank Simpanan Nasional. I think the only reason we go to that bank because of this. Okay. But I do have an account there. Okay, my mom opened an account. I think those old timers will open a BSN account. It's compulsory those days. Okay, to have it. You can also buy it from an ATM and so on, but you need to have account for that. Okay. This is a website. Okay, you have to go in. If you are this is the first time you're logging in, you have to daftar account baru. Okay, you can create account lah macam Facebook ke, or dulu you guys don't use Facebook, right? So yeah, Instagram ke apa ke. Okay. So there are 2 categories. So I'm not going to touch on STPM leavers here because I don't think so any one of you are STPM leavers. So I'm going to focus more on SPM leavers here. Okay. But if you have any questions on STPM, matriculation, diploma, you can contact me later. Okay. Now you have category A, category B. Category A untuk lepasan semasa. So kalau adik-adik lepasan tahun 2023 yang akan dapat keputusan ni, anda kategori A. Apa beza kategori A, kategori B? Kategori A ni dia ada banyak pilihan program compared to kategori B. Okay, alright. So ini untuk lepasan STPM. Okay. So ini syarat-syarat So ada beberapa perkara yang adik-adik kena tahu untuk aplikasi atau permohonan ke UPU online. Kalau UPU online ni, dia ada 2 perkara yang adik-adik kena penuhi. Satu syarat satu syarat khas. Syarat ni syarat minimum yang adik-adik kena ada. Kalau tak ada, tak boleh mohon macam tu. Tapi syarat khas ni, setiap kursus ada dia punya syarat khas yang berbeza. Mungkin dia nak BMA, dia nak Mathematics C dan sebagainya, mungkin. Okay. Tapi kalau syarat ni, kalau adik-adik tengok sini, dia kecil sikit. Kalau asasi, kalau ada 5 kredit, minimum boleh apply untuk asasi. 5 kredit 5 C lah. Okay, boleh apply untuk asasi. Dan kalau diploma dia minta 3 kredit je, ni minimum. Dia 3 kredit boleh apply. Okay. Begitu juga untuk program-program sijil. Sijil dia lagi rendah. Ada program sijil yang boleh mengira, boleh membaca, boleh apply. Tak perlu pun adik-adik ada keputusan SPM, ataupun tak perlu ada keputusan sijil XPM. Penyata tu pun dah cukup. Okay. So ini syarat-syarat untuk lepasan STPM setaraf. I'm gonna skip a bit. So alright, this is Muat. I think I should stay near. Okay, this is syarat khas. Okay, so each of the courses will have their own syarat khas. You have to fulfill both syarat and also syarat khas in order to get a course. You have to fulfill both. Okay. Now, for SPM leavers, you have your own STEM now. It's not called science and art. It's called STEM A, STEM B, STEM C, and arts. Okay, so it varies, and there's also, pursuant to this difference, there would be a difference in terms of the merit calculation. I'll come to it later. Okay, so this is your aliran. You have to know your aliran. It's very, very sad to see students, when I do programs earlier during the fasa 1, when I ask students, ini aliran apa? Dia tak tahu. You kena tahu aliran apa. Then only you can calculate your merit, and then only you can apply for the courses accordingly. Okay. Alright. So now this is the timeline given. Now we are in the Tarikh Temuduga period. maybe some of you who have applied might have gotten tarikh untuk menduduki ujian ataupun temuduga. Okay, we are in this period. Now, moving forward, on 5th June onwards, you can kemas kini your options. Okay, and there would be a tapisan. I explain to you later, automatic filtration based on your result. That would come into play later on. Okay, after your results are announced. And you are expected to get your keputusan, if I'm not mistaken, 28 Jun. 28 Jun akan dapat keputusan sama ada adik dapat tawaran atau tidak. Ini untuk lepasan SPM. 28 Jun. Dan kalau matrikulasi dia pun sama juga. Dia nak umumkan lebih kurang tarikh yang sama. Dia nak adik-adik untuk buat keputusan dengan ada 2 tawaran ni. Dia akan umumkan dalam tempoh usually matrikulasi dalam tempoh 30 hari dari tarikh keputusan SPM, dia akan umumkan keputusan tawaran matrikulasi. It's always like that. So kalau 27 Mei dia keluar result, 28 Jun tu dia akan keluar keputusan matrikulasi. Usually macam tu. Okay. So tarikh hebahan dia kata minggu pertama Julai lah kita dah awalkan, mungkin minggu terakhir Jun, dan adik-adik akan masuk untuk belajar pada minggu terakhir atau minggu ketiga Julai. This is the timeline, okay, untuk adik-adik. Kalau terdapat, adik-adik boleh mohon rayuan, ada proses rayuan juga. Okay, ini untuk STPM, I'm gonna skip a bit. So this is the fasa kemas kini. Okay, maksudnya kalau adik-adik telah dipanggil untuk temuduga, okay, telah dipanggil untuk temuduga, ada ya? Ada yang dipanggil temuduga? Tak ada? Okay, kalau dipanggil, adik-adik tak boleh ubah kursus itu. It's permanent, it's fixed. Kalau tak dipanggil, adik-adik boleh masuk, boleh edit balik. Okay, so ini adalah dasar kriteria pemilihan. So you have to understand there are certain selection process. Number 1, of course, your academic performance, pencapaian akademik. Number 2, co-curriculum comes into play. Number 3, kombinasi mata pelajaran bersesuaian. You must have the combination of subjects for certain courses. If you don't have bio and so on, there's no reasonable prospect for you to do medicine for that matter. So you need to have that combination. Grade mata pelajaran untuk tujuan pengiraan markah akademik, I'll come into it later. Syarat khas. Nombor 6, temuduga dan ujian kena lulus kalau ada. Nombor 7, pilihan program pengajian mengikut keutamaan, priority. What is your, I heard the panelists were telling, what is your interest? What is your passion? What is your number 1 goal? Where you want to go? So you put it on top. Okay, that is your priority. And of course, it all boils down to how many places are there, how many seats are left for students. Okay, so these are the selection criteria. Okay, these are for STPM. So dasar pemilihan berasaskan prinsip meritokrasi. Meritokrasi maksudnya merit based. Depends on your result. It goes down to your co-curriculum result and everything. Okay, so 90% uses comes from your SPM result, 10% comes from your COCO activities. Okay, so your COCO marks would be given to you by your teachers. I think when you get your result later, maybe teachers will give you a sigil. There it will be written there. Over 10, what do you get? Maybe it might be 86, so you can convert to 8.6. Okay, so if you don't have it, ask from your school teacher, they will give it to you. Okay, so this is what we call as merit. All the selection process depends on merit. Okay, so merit boils down to your SPM result. So when it comes to SPM result, your STEM is very important. So I'll take STEM A for example today. So regardless of which STEM you are from, STEM A, B, C ataupun sastra, 4 important subjects are very crucial for you, which is Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Inggeris, Matematik, Sejarah. Ini 4 subjek ini sangat penting. Dia bagi 40% markah. Okay, 30% markah ni datang daripada mata pelajaran subjek package. For example, kalau adik-adik STEM A ambil pure science, okay, you'll be having 4 important subjects, which is physics, kimia, bio, and maths. Out of that 4, the best 2 subjects, let's say you get A for physics, A for chemistry, B for bio, B for maths. So they will take into consideration 2 best subjects from that package, which is physics and chemistry, and that contributes 30% of the mark. Okay, and then 2 more best subjects, any best subjects,
excluding these two category subjects, and then that equivalence, or they will calculate until it goes unto it gives or contributes 90%, and then you plus with 10% marker co-curriculum. Okay, so these are the STEM subjects. So if you have taken, let's say you have dropped bio for that matter, and you have taken accountancy, it's quite common. Dulu kita panggil sub-science. Okay, sekarang kita panggil STEM B. Tapi kena ingat, accountancy itu bukan mata pelajaran package. Dia tak termasuk dalam 30%. Dia akan masuk dalam 10%. Dia berbeza sikit. Okay, ni STEM C. Right? This is the calculation. It's very easy, guys. Nowadays, you don't have to calculate manually. You go to your Play Store or your App Store and so on. There's one app called UPU Pocket. Okay, please download the app. In UPU Pocket, there's calculator merit. When you click calculator merit, it comes out automatically, where you can just fill up the subjects, your result and everything, and will compute for you your marker academic, marker co-curriculum and marker merit. It's very easy. Okay, so this is the calculation, because every grade gives you a mark. Kalau A plus 18, A 16. So from here we can calculate. This marker merit is very important. The higher you get, the better chance for you to get a course. The lower it is, the lower chance for you to get a course. Okay, so that's how it works. So these are some examples. I want to skip a bit, you don't have time. For STPM skipping also. So this is a selection process. I will explain to you in detail. Okay, kita ambil contoh lah. Okay, satu kursus yang sangat popular, kursus Diploma Pendidikan Awal Kanak-Kanak UPSI. I'm sure you have seen it in your UPU online applications. Very popular. Tens and thousands of students apply for it. Okay, so how do they select students? Maybe they have only 200 or 100 seats for that particular course, but they have 10,000 students applying for it. How do they pick the best? This is where the marker merit comes into play. Okay, so just imagine this is done by the computers, not by humans or Krani or Machi or Kaka. They are not doing it. The computer does it. Okay, so when you key in, when your results are into the system, it's matched, it's computed, it will give you a marker academic, a marker co-curricular, it will give you a marker merit. Okay, out of 100, let's say you get 90 or 80 and so on and so forth. So from here, let's assume a scenario. This particular course in UPSI, okay, 10,000 students are applying for it. They only have 100 seats available. Let's assume so. Okay, so the system will arrange or rank you from the best performing student with 99.99 merit until the lowest merit. Okay, and then it will take the top 100 or 200 to process them. Okay, so for example, Pilihan 1, you applied for UPSI, okay, that particular course. It will actually, if you look at this student, his ranking is number 5, which is very high, maybe 99 or 98 marker merit. Okay, so it will actually look at your syarat first. You cukup ke syarat, BM ada apa, English ada apa, mathematics ada apa, and all these things. You can find out the syarat khas in your UPU Pocket. It's there also. Okay, so once it goes through your syarat, if you qualify, it will call you for temu duga. Okay, temu duga. Kalau adik-adik pergi temu duga tapi tak berjaya, gagal temu duga, tiba-tiba adik-adik tak boleh cakap, blank. Okay, so gagal temu duga. So unfortunately, adik-adik tak akan dapat pilihan ini, walaupun let's say adik-adik ada top 5, 100 seats available, you're number 5, by right you should get it, but since you failed in your temu duga, you would not get the course. But don't worry, system will go into pilihan 2, pilihan 3 and so on so forth until you get a course. Okay, so for example, this is another situation. This student 100, so this particular course in UPSI they need 100 people, so he is in 100 place. By right he should get it, but then dia punya syarat tak cukup, so because of that dia tak dapat pilihan 1. Tapi jangan risau, sistem akan tengok pilihan 2. Dia tengok pilihan 2, dia dapat syarat ada, bilangan tempat ada, temu duga ada, tahniah, dapat pilihan 2. This is how system goes. Some would take some time because their merit is low, their ranking is low. It goes to at the back of the list, maybe you get a pilihan 7. You have 12 options. I'm just putting just to demonstrate to you, there are 8 options here, but you have 12 options for SPM leavers. Okay, so there are some situations where you don't get anything. Okay, so tak berjaya apa-apa. So these are very critical courses. If you are planning to apply public universities, these are very, very critical courses. Mean to say you will have very high competition. You will have to become the best among the best. Good results, good skills. You have to perform in your interview, etc. Okay, these are very, very, very critical courses. So some of the statistics that I want to show it to you, but you don't have time. So these are some data. All right. So imagine last year it came out 20,000 students didn't get anything because of the competition. So that is what they explained. UPU came out with a press statement. It says very, very fierce competition. Okay, that is where that is the reason for you not to get it. Imagine, this is for STPM matriculation leavers. There are 8,000 students with 4.00, which is the perfect mark. 4.0 is the perfect score. So 8,000 of them applying for very, very limited seats. Hence, the fierce competition, and naturally some would not get the course, even though you get a 4.0. Okay, so this is the reality in that sense. So there are a lot of things here, but we don't have time. I don't want to go through it. So this is how do you, what is the use of having this Marka merit? Okay, so once you go into UPU online system, you would be able to see at the back of the course there's a number, if you have noticed. It could be 60 or 70 and so on. That is the Purata merit based on the past 2 years intake. Based on that, the government came out, UPU came out with a Purata merit. If you have that, let's say the cost is 70, you have 80. So meaning to say you have a higher chance if you apply for that course. So that is where you have to use that Purata merit and apply. Okay, so it could be a bit confusing, but you can get more information from me later. Okay, so these are some things like you have to look at it. So first you have to, let's say if you are interested to apply for Asasi, you have to arrange all the Asasi kursus, and then you look at your Marka merit. Okay, let's say here, let's say your Marka merit is 92, for example. Okay, so from 92 you can apply for these courses like 92.64, 91.62. But if you apply for 94, there's a 2-pointed difference from your Marka merit. So you may tend to not get that course. Okay, so always apply for courses which are equivalent or lower than your Marka merit. So this is the tips. Okay, tapi ini panduan saja. Purata merit akan berbeza-beza. Purata is average, So average, there is a plus minus of +2, -2 and all these things. Okay, right? So these are for degree leavers. A couple of courses available for you all. Yeah, so this is our social media platform. So you can follow us. We'll be sharing information from time to time. Okay. Most of the information, don't worry, we put it up in Bahasa Melayu or English. Okay, so you can read it up. Okay. Sometimes maybe some of the videos are in Tamil, but most of the informations are in English. Okay, the written informations are in English and Malay, so you can pick up. So our Telegram group, please join. So we have a lot of information we'll be sharing from time to time. Alright, so I think that's all. Karamani, you have anything to add? No, okay. So thank you for the opportunity given. I'll wrap up. If you have further questions, you can meet me downstairs later, okay? Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kalai. Thank you so much. So, as the plan, after this, we're going to go downstairs where we have all the booths being set up. So all the 6 areas, including UPU, will be already being set up over there. So you can ask any questions, anything you want to clear out, whatever points were mentioned earlier. Let's go downstairs now. Okay, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.